Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me. 6 days we work, then we bask. We leave the noise to hear Yah's voice. We listen, we learn, we struggle to know. We walk with Yah through the mikri. Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me.
Well, welcome to our Shabbat family Towrah Hour program this evening. It's a delight to be here, and you can see we have a slightly different cast of characters this evening. That is Russell and Mariah, that we're going to hear their story as we move into our program. But I do know that we also have hidden tonight. We have Kirk and Dr. Jeff are both here with us, but in this particular format for the moment, they are hidden. So as I understand it, Mike, you won't be able to continue this program for a while. We're going to try to get you on your choice, actually not your choice, but it's an issue outside of our control. And we're working behind the scenes with JB to get the two brainiacs on a show that is for those who are particularly keen on the ideas of kind of plumbing the depths of the Torah and making comparisons and doing this sorts of things. So it'll be a very stimulating show for the most thoughtful of the covenant family. That's something you're interested in, and I know that we're going to try to make that happen going forward. But the stage is yours, Mike.
Okay, I just have a couple comments. Yeah, if I can get the technical part to work, I can do the with JB. Mm-hmm. So Monday, I emailed you the two emails that I found.
Yes.
In 2007, 2008. I scanned them because they were printouts. And I don't know if you read them, but I was even fact checking you in December 2007. That was only 2 months after I joined the Yada Yahweh forum and a few months after I started reading the books. So I sent you some of it was just spelling and stuff, but some of it was actually math. I corrected you under math and stuff.
Yes, yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah,
actually,
him and I could go bowling.
Yeah, most of our math is pretty complicated, and we're dealing with some fairly sophisticated thoughts. And math was actually my best subject in school. You wouldn't know it. English was my least. I didn't do well in English.
Oh yeah,
so
spelling was the worst when I was in like grade school and even high school.
Yeah,
for some reason I got better in college. I don't know why. I guess I was reading more.
I didn't like English, and I liked math because math there was a right answer. In English, there never was. And the teacher's version of a right answer in English and mine, we just never got along. What I thought was just fine, they didn't like, and nobody could explain to me why one version was better than another. Or why with English there are more exceptions than there are rules.
Right. Yeah. Well, my wife is coming back in town. That's why I won't be able to be doing this at home. I'm at home right now.
Okay.
She's flying back from South Korea. She's Buddhist, so she's not on board with Yahweh at all. I've tried to explain to her, but she's not interested at all. So she won't let me like waste 2 or 3 hours on this show at night. But if I can figure out a way to do it at work, because I usually go in late to miss the traffic and come home late to miss the traffic, because traffic in Dallas is horrible. There's so many people moving here, I mean, it used to not be so bad, but there's too many people moving here. So
I'm in exactly the opposite situation here.
You don't have any traffic.
Yeah, if I missed this show, my wife would kick me out of the house.
Yeah.
It's my house, and she'd still kick me out if I missed the show. So it's quite a different perspective. Although I was where you were once, but we just came to an agreement that she wouldn't get in the way of what I was going to do, and so that didn't work very well. But it was the best we could do under the circumstances.
Yeah, this wife will drag you by your collar. Mm-hmm.
So go ahead,
Mike. you're not thinking that Shabuw'ah is going to be this Friday or Saturday, like May 22nd?
Yes, I think, and no, I don't think.
Well, I mean, it's going to be Shabuw'ah, regardless. I mean,
no, thank you for the fact. Thank you for the fact checking. You're always going out on a stout note. Yes, it will be Shabuw'ah. My conclusion is that the primary aspect of the celebration of Shabuw'ah isn't the harvest of a minimal number of people for a short vacation. I think the primary purpose of Shabuw'ah is that it is the commencement of the time of trouble. This is decision time for Israel. And so I think that the purpose and the celebration and the observance of this Shabuw'ah is it marks 7 years and 4 months to the time of resolution, and that Israel now has that much time on the clock, and that they're going to be in the most difficult circumstances in the history of what has been a very troubled relationship with Yahweh. It's going to sink to the absolute bottom possible situation, and then it's going to be rectified. And this starts that final countdown of you've got 7 years, and this is it, and most of you won't survive it. So I think that the primary celebration of Shabuw'ah, the observation of Shabuw'ah, is of a recognition that Israel's into that final 7-year countdown where they can't push off return any longer. And you might say, well, that's kind of a bummer. That doesn't sound very celebratory. Well, last time I checked, matzah wasn't very celebratory either, nor was Pesach. It's a tough occurrence. Yes, the result is marvelous, and the ultimate result of Shabuw'ah is going to be marvelous. But it's like Pesach, and it is like matzah. It's you got to go through some tough situation before you get to the good news. And yes, I know that Shabuw'ah is a harvest, and a harvest is going to occur on Shabuw'ah. But I think that the harvest is next year, and I think that we'll be removed for some portion of 33 months. I don't know how many of them of us there will be, and how active we will be able to be during that time, or whether or not we're going to be able to come back in that 33 months. But I think that the Shabuw'ah actual harvest is going to be next year on June 11th. Has been my thought for some time. The only thing that I thought was remotely possible is when I said that if Israel and the U.S. attacked Iran again, that would be such a mess. And it would put the whole world in such a predicament that as a way to get out of that mess, I saw that it was a possibility that Trump would betray Israel sooner rather than later. And that narrowing of Israel, which will take place over the next year with the forfeiture of a Islamic state of terror carved out of its heart, that could have happened sooner had things continue to escalate out of control. As it turns out, they moved to a quasi-truce while the world's economies are being bled to death. So I don't think the next 7 days are going to be traumatic enough for the harvest actually to occur this year. I think it's going to occur next year.
Okay, so maybe it's premature to talk about this, but okay. I was wondering what other people are going to do, like if their spouse isn't on board, or their family members aren't on board, which a lot of us have that as the case. Mm-hmm. So, I was going to write a note to my wife and some of my other relatives, maybe, and leave it where she'll find it. I don't really want to give it to her like now,
right?
Financially, she's on the checking accounts, and the house is in both of our names and stuff. So I don't have to worry about that. But if we're taken, is our body going to be left behind, or we just go poof? You think?
I think that the most natural thing is we go poof, and I don't think it makes sense for there to be a bunch of dead bodies. I think the bodies are just gone, and so I don't think we're going to leave a trace of a body. The body doesn't do us any good, and as a soul gets incorporated into light, the energy of that is very capable of incinerating the residual body, which would be, I think, by far the best circumstance for everyone.
Okay, well, if we go poof, we're going to be considered missing persons, which to get a death certificate, that's going to be hard. I think you have to wait like 7 years, something like that. Well, 7 years is too late. I mean,
well, you're going to show back up. Chances are you're going to show back up.
Well, I mean, for my wife, not for me.
Yeah.
For my wife and you know.
You'll know where you are.
I'll know where I am, but my wife
It's easy. Just put the house in her name.
Yeah,
well, it's in both of our names, so I mean, she.
The one thing, the one thing I've tried to
sell it or not, or
the one thing I've tried to avoid.
If she had.
The thing I've tried to avoid all the way through, Mike, is that this job does not involve providing any financial advice or any marital advice. Those are the two things I stay out of, absolutely, unequivocally, in all circumstances. So I do not provide marital advice. I do not provide financial advice. And
Good
so
advice.
I am not going to say how you should prepare for this. I'm a unique dude, so I'm going to tell you what my view is, and that is that the people I care about are coming with me. That part of it, that part is really good. I have some friends that I care about that are not coming with me, but they'll know they've already been told where we're going. And my view is that things that I leave behind are a non-issue. That the level of empowerment and enablement that we're getting, and how few of us there are, and how many malak there are out there. I think that, I don't have any grass to mow because, I've gone to artificial turf. But if I had grass to mow, I think that, at this point, we ought to be able to have a malak that mows the grass, So, I'm expecting if I leave this house, and, I don't know if we even have locks on the doors. I've not used a key or a lock in so long I can't remember. But the fact is, I expect that we're not going to lose everything that we have. We have to have a base when we come back. And so I'm expecting that God's going to take care of that. It's not my responsibility to do it. So I'm being really, really cavalier. I'm just saying, I'm happy to go at any time. And when you take me, I'm not going to worry about anything, because I think that we have enough support mechanism behind us. And that's pretty clear in terms of what we inherit once this is all over. We inherit the wealth of our enemies. And I'm here to tell you, we got a lot of enemies. And we have some enemies that have major do-re-mi and toys and land and all sorts of things, and houses and you name it. And the best of those, there's no reason for them to go to waste, and we're going to inherit them. And therefore, we will come back with more than we can possibly imagine that will be of benefit to us. And I'm just not going to stress over it between now and then. So in your case, I think your letter is probably a really good idea. But again, you're pushing, you're entering a conversation where I am.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the do-re-mi is going to be kind of useless.
Correct.
In the millennium. I mean, nobody's going to accept dollar bills or won or rubles.
The dollar bill won't even have any value by that time, so we don't have to worry about it. It's a dead instrument, and you're not going to want to have any of those. So, and not to worry. I wouldn't fret it. I just go with it, celebrate it, enjoy it, relax in it. You've been a great contributor for so long, and are so deeply entrenched in understanding and sharing that. Just enjoy it.
Okay.
All
right. Well,
I don't think we'll need things going forward. I think Yahowah will provide.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation going forward, in that there will be a mortal remnant, and they're going to need things. We're dealing with housing, food, power, fuel, all sorts of things, electricity for, lights. There will be things that are needed. God's has never been the type that says, I'm going to run a power company for you. I'm going to do everything for you. It's not his style. And so part of the reason we have Goyim coming forward is there's going to be work to do, and we're going to be engaged in things. And so I do think there's going to be, in the physical world, things to do. And when we have physical bodies, we're going to be part of that. The advantage of being covenant, of the few that are withdrawn, is that when we come back, we will assume physical bodies, because otherwise we can't relate to the rest of the people. You're not going to sit there as, as a light bulb and affect people. So we're going to have physical bodies when we come back. And we can then leave and explore the universe as light energy. But while we're here, shelter, food, all the kind of stuff that we normally need, I think there's going to be, those things are going to be provided. And I think that we will be engaged in work and engaged in administration. I'm not going to fret about, how that all takes place, or whether or not there'll be an alternative source of power. There could well be. We may not have to burn hydrocarbons, for example, to make things go. But I do think there's going to be a lot of normalcy in that 1,000 years. That the earth is going to be expunged of the religious, the political, the conspiratorial, the anti-Semitic, but you're still going to be houses here and there, and people here and there, and
Mine will be on Leah Island.
Things to do. Leah's going to go back to being an introvert. She's going back to Leah Island. She's not going back to being an introvert. She just is an introvert. Yeah. I am going to go back to my childhood where I was an introvert. So we may all do that. I think was an introvert too, so I think you'll appreciate that.
Well, there's only 1,400 coming back. I don't think it's enough to repopulate the planet, or at least repopulate, but I don't think it's enough to support especially all the infrastructure we have now.
Oh, of course not. The way we came up with the 1,400 number is that Yahowah says that mortal man is going to be as rare as the gold that is refined from Ophir. And when we read how much gold was refined from Ophir, and you do the math on the average weight of a person, you get to 1,400 people. 700 would be Goyim, and 700 Yisraelites. So I think that's the best estimate that he has given us as to how many mortals there will be. He has not told us how many covenant members there would be, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were much more than 100 or so in Shabuw'ah, and it could be a really goodly number in Towrah. We're going to get people's attention in Towrah. We're going to be cooking with gas, as they say, and then Towrah. So it could be a significant number. But my calendar is so full of what we're trying to do over the next year, that trying to plan for what's going to happen 7 years from now, after we've made it through the time of trouble in the last 3.5 years as witnesses, and the next fulfillment of the next 4 Moedim.
No, we're busy planning next week.
That is way, way beyond where my thought process is. So I'm just, I might go to bed at night after watching something and say, okay, well, that's a possibility, and just, ponder the implications. But I don't, I would be afraid to even share some of the thoughts that I have, just because of the fact that there's no Torah evidence for it. And you don't want to say something that somebody would rely upon that is a presumptive. So,
right.
Well,
yeah.
My goal right now is I got 2 books that I need to get published, and I'm working as hard as I can to get those things done, while we're still populating the blogs. And of course, my biggest encouragement now is to get more shows, more people producing shows. So we're so that everybody has a chance to contribute. I see Mariah looking at her husband there. That is exactly what we're looking for. And we realize that a lot of people work, so it's hard they can't do what I do. They can't do 3, 4, 5 hours a day of these kinds of shows. Fortunately, I was put in a position where I could retire 25 years ago and devote every waking hour to this. That is unusual, but that was the setup for this. But those that are still working, take wonderful use of the Shabbat. And find a passion. The easiest by far, and probably the one of the most fun would be the Yahowah book club. And we could have several of those. Just pick any book and do it a chapter at a time, and have a roundtable discussion on that chapter.
Or just read through it.
Yeah, I just think that's a marvelous way to go. And then there's of course the covenant family, and somebody like Shannon would be a marvelous host, but it can be someone else if Shannon doesn't want to deal with the technology part of it. But doing everybody's story, I think is a marvelous way. Like we're going to put Mariah and her husband on the hot seat here in a moment and talk about their background and their story. But I think that's a marvelous way to go. So there's things that everybody can do and contribute, and there is this tremendous reward in doing it. You're going to feel good about yourselves and the people you're doing it with, and those who benefit from it. And so that's an important part of what we are right at the moment.
All right. Well, send me coming home 5 when you're ready, if you want me to fact check it.
Okay. Well, actually, what we're going to do is have a little chat here with Mariah and Russell.
Well, I'm going to bow out for the night then, so
okay.
you guys can have more screen time.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, love you, pal.
Shabbat shalom.
Love you, buddy. All right. For those that don't know, as he hinted, Mike and I have been doing this together now for just shy of 20 years. It's a very long time. The same length of time that Kirk down there and I have been doing this together. And it is nice when you can plow fresh soil as we have. We've cut a lot of troughs and unplowed fields for a very long time, and to be together through all of it and look at where we've come and where we are. It's really an affirming sort of thing to know that we've come this far over this long, and the same friends all the way along. Yep. So one of the things we're going to do, Captain Kirk, is you're also going to do a show. I recommended you do it with Noah. I would have loved to have you do it with Sylvia, because Sylvia's got such wit, and she's snarky, and wit and snarky go well together. Every time I read something from Sylvia, you just want to say, "You go, girl." She's great, but I understand that she's more of an introvert than Leah.
I think so.
She did not come across the times that she's come here and visited, and we've gotten to know her. She's
because it's one-on-one.
Okay.
Camera shy. Yeah.
Camera shy. Okay. Well, if you pretend, behind that camera, there's nobody watching or listening, then
I told her it's such a small group. You won't.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's pretend it's just the dogs. It'll be fine. All right. Well, maybe we'll get Noah. You've had a wonderful relationship with Noah for many, many, many years, and he did a lovely job as a co-host of a vlog on a vlog the other day. He'd be a great addition, and he's in the same time zone that you're in, so that could work well. Mm-hmm. Now, Mariah, we have known you for a long time. You don't look old enough for us to have known you for a long time. You're not like the rest of us and going gray.
Well, she was.
Hey, wait a minute.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. You got a little hint of the gray. Yeah, you got a little bit there in the chin, along with me. Yeah.
It's silver.
Oh yeah. It's silver.
It's blonde to start with.
Okay. All right. The thing that we have always liked about your wife is that she is no nonsense. I mean, she knows her material. She won't let anybody get away with what she knows is not right. She's got excellent judgment, great character.
She's a moral intellectual.
Yeah, she is. Yes. That's what Leah says. She's a moral intellectual. Mm-hmm. We have always everybody. I mean, there's not a person in this covenant family that doesn't love your wife. And what's interesting is, before we knew you, she said the nicest things about you.
Yes.
She was constantly saying, I really love my husband. I have the best husband in the history of husbands. And so you guys have a really good relationship, but you had separate parts of your life, and being part of the covenant and growing in that was separate for a while. And I understand that part of that separation was that when you talk about things like Towrah, there's the most people would think, oh, that must be religious, when in fact it's anti-religious, and you view religion like the rest of us do, that it's utter gibberish and nonsense.
Is allergic.
Yeah, allergic. Well, that's me too. Yeah, I've always told Yahowah that, you want me to do something, you're not going to put me on the Temple Mount with that hideous Dome of the Rock and Alaska moss sitting behind me, or all those religious rabbis drooling in front of me, banging their heads against the stone. I'm allergic. I'll break out in hives. You just can't do that to me. So we got to work something out. So I'm with you. I'm repulsed by religion. And you've been that way for a while?
Been that way since probably 12 or 13 years old. Just grew up seeing it when I was a kid, and just I got to that age where I could actually pull away from it and not have too much repercussions. And it was just toxic. You see the people around you go to church, come home, and they're different. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. They're not the same people, and just everything associated with it was just bad. Having a mom who was mentally, physically abusive, and so on, it was always contradictory, and I got the blunt of it for saying something. So, yeah, it wasn't very enjoyable. There's a lot of bad stuff with it. So to walk away from you was a long time ago, and then anything further going further was like I already shut that door. That switch was off, which was unfortunate.
My mother was super religious. I mean, over the top. It was Jesus everything, my precious Jesus everything, Bible studies and constant prayer and all that kind of stuff. And my father was an anti-Semitic, racist terrorist. My father was exceedingly abusive, so abusive that he wrote me some 30 or 40 hate letters, and I finally threatened to kill me, and I had to take the letters to a judge to get a restraining order against him. So, I mean, that's losing the parent lottery. And my mother, showing her the letters, showing her this is what he is doing, sided with him. And so I said, well, then I got nothing to do with either of you. I just left them. But that whole religion thing, with her being super religious and siding with an abusive husband over a son, I said, this is phony. One of the most interesting things, though, about the hypocritical bit is that I grew up and when I moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, and I had started Value America, the most influential person in Virginia was a guy named Jerry Falwell. I don't know if you ever heard that name, but Jerry Falwell was the first televangelist. He had the moral majority. He was getting presidents elected. He had the Old Time Gospel Hour was his televangelism thing. It's interesting that unlike all the rest of them, and I met many of them, and they're all frauds, Jerry was a pretty decent human being. In fact, the way he treated people was really extraordinary. He was not a hypocrite in his personal dealings at all, and he was a very bright man. And we actually developed a pretty decent friendship until such time as I went down this journey. And as I went down this journey, I learned that, oh my, there's nothing in Christianity that is for real. It's all fake. So it took me much later in my life for me to find out that Christianity was a complete fraud, and that separated us. But I remember one of my lunches with him, and what he told me is that, if I have two people that come to me and say, the church needs painting, and one person just is cussing, is a standard, painter, and he pulls up in his ugly truck and, say, your damn church is looking like, really looking shitty. You need to get it painted. And the other guy says, oh man, I remember your church. Let's sit down and we'll pray about this, and we'll work out something after prayer. He says, I would always go with the guy that was cussing with the ugly truck, because otherwise I was going to get screwed. And so he said, there's something wrong with it. Yeah, there's something really wrong with that. And then finally, as we had our last meeting, and I had this white paper, the things that I was learning, and I said, I want the head of your of Hebrew studies, your Old Testament scholars, everybody that's really the brightest people in your university, at Liberty University at the time. And I said, I really want to have a long period of time. We've been friends for a long time, so I want 5 or 6 hours to go through what I have discovered, and I want your response to it. I went through the whole thing, and there was never a Jesus the Shabbat is still appropriate. The 7 Moed Mikri are still appropriate. There is no Christmas, no Easter, no Gospel of Grace. Just went through the whole thing. No dying and resurrecting gods, and God's not a man. The Trinity is Babylonian. A lot of it. I probably knew 1/1,000,000th of what I know today, but I had it all down, and I finished the whole thing. And his biblical scholars all said, "Yeah, well, you can't argue with anything you said. It's true." And Jerry said, "Yeah, I know it's true. But let me tell you what the deal is.
Oh boy!
If I were to say what you just said, the people that sit in the pews of my church every Sunday and add to my collection, they wouldn't come anymore. The envelopes that I get every day to support this university would never arrive. And if you say any of those things, they're going to label you a kook." That was my last meeting with Jerry Falwell. He died not long after that.
Interesting.
So you want reinforcement? You don't need it, but you want reinforcement that you were right, that it's all hypocrisy? Absolutely. It's a religion. It's a money-making scheme and a control mechanism.
Yeah. Just peddling lies to get the money. Yeah. I actually, when I was a teenager, just for fun, well, it wasn't for fun to go see it, but I was with my friend, and we were perhaps doing things we shouldn't be as teenagers. And we wanted to spend time with his sister, who had lots of money and food. So we went to see Billy Graham at the Tacoma Dome, and I was probably about 14. Was not there to see it, but make it real quick. There was a Jesus, as you say, Jesus guy out front dressed up. He had a robe on with rope and carrying a cross, but he was being derogatory and just kind of obscene. So people were praying for him, and I'm just like, what are you doing, right? So at this point, it's just a joke. So we go inside, and I remember this guy had piercing blue eyes. There's certain characteristics you see somebody once and you recognize. And we went inside, and that same person is in a suit now up on stage. And I'm like, oh, you're part of the whole show. You're getting people fired up. That's like the opening band, to get the crowd riled up. And, I understand that part. And that was the comparison for me. And I'm like, this is just insane. But we were there for the fun and just to goof around. And we weren't watching the thing, but just seeing the spectacle. And I don't know, $50,000 worth of flowers that their tickets are paying for this. And it just, the whole thing was perverse to me. And then just knowing the things that happened to other kids when I was younger by so-called religious parents, I'll leave it to the imagination. And you see that and you're like, no. So there was a lot of reasons to walk away.
You were much younger than I was when I finally made my break. I knew Jerry. I knew Billy Graham, and I knew his son, Franklin Graham. Was backstage at numerous crusades. When I was young, I used to listen to him when I wasn't in his presence because I thought that he was like JFK, where he had a very unique accent and a very unusual delivery that was so uncommon that and statesmanlike that it got people's attention. And I actually enjoyed listening to his delivery. When I tried to analyze what he said, I was troubled because what he said was so shallow, it bothered me. But I was still deeply embedded in religion at the time, and I was trying to approach religion from a more scholarly point of view and read the more intellectual defenses of the religion. And I became the youngest ruling elder in the history of the Presbyterian Church when I was in my late teens. I was making presentations that were religious presentations on behalf of the Presbyterian Church at 18 and 19 years old to 5, 10, 15,000 people. And I was leading Bible studies, and as I say, I was an ordained ruling elder. And what I came to realize in my early 20s is that everybody was trying to impress everybody else that they had faith. And I kept on saying, what is this faith in? Because you can't find there, Josh McDowell wrote evidence that demands a verdict, but there is no evidence. There is no evidence. There's not a single contemporaneous eyewitness account of what happened in 33 CE, other than the one that Dowd wrote 1,000 years before he endured it. And so you're saying, what are you talking about? And it's every quote from what I called at the time, the Old Testament that's put in the New Testament misquotes the Torah or the prophets. How can you have a religion if you can't even quote your God right? And then, somebody brought up to me, and I started checking it out. And it was true that Paul, who claimed to be the apostle to the world on behalf of this Jesus Christ, never cited him once. How is that possible? I mean, nobody just says, I'm here speaking for God and never quote God. If you look at Yahowah, that's all I do is quote God.
Right.
Everything is based. We're gonna quote him, and then we're gonna discuss what that means. He never once quoted him, and you're saying, huh? And when he quoted the real God, he misquoted him every time and delivered such a twisted representation, corruption of it. It was the antithesis of what he said. And then you're dealing with, wait a minute, bodily resurrection is what the Egyptians were promoting. Didn't work out really well for them, did it?
Not so much.
And then you're saying, wait a minute, your God is a man. And then you're saying, wait a minute, you're telling me that men killed your God? And you're blaming the Jews for it. And yet I've never seen a Jew nail somebody to a cross in crucifixion. What are you talking about? Why are you so anti-Semitic? And finally, I came up with 20 questions that I took to the smartest people that claim to be the smartest people for Christianity. It says, I want you to answer these questions for me. And they were 20 questions that I ended up putting in the first chapter of Twistianity, and never found anyone that could answer any of them. And now I realize why, because they're unanswerable. The religion's a fraud from beginning to end. That's why I've enjoyed putting together the 5 volumes of Twistianity. It's probably the funniest things that I ever wrote, is just how stupid that religion really is. You want to make fun of Islam, and there's lots of things to poke fun at, but it's just so dark, and so murderous. It's so perverted. It's pretty hard to laugh at. You don't want to laugh at a pedophile scene or a rape scene or a torture scene. So it's pretty hard. But Paul you can laugh at. So you at 13 in your teens, and you already had it figured out. Man, you beat me by a long shot.
Well, I don't know I guess I had that figured out to walk away, but so many other things I didn't have figured out, of course, but it was just everything hand in hand with how I was raised and seeing it, and the people surrounding was just, you think at that age, I'm just rebellious. You get to a certain age, everybody kind of rebels against something. But for me, it was emotional and physical of just, I don't want any part of that. So it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Fortunate.
I look back on it now, and I'm actually glad that I was sucked into it, and that I studied it from an intellectual point of view. I studied it from an evangelical point of view. I got to know so many of these characters personally. I feel like it's a little bit like Moshe. He was a good choice to repudiate what was going on in Egypt, because he had been there in the house of Pharaoh, and he had rejected it and walked away from it. So sometimes being an insider and rejecting it gives you a little more more comprehensive understanding of what you're up against. So one of the things I had to do with Leah, because we realize our target audience really still is Israel, is to say, you've written so many of these books denouncing Christianity by what God says in the Torah and prophets, and that's all swell and everything. I'm sure it's right. He says, she says, I don't know diddly squat about Christianity, but my guess is what you're saying is true. That's what Christianity believes. But he says, you're not focused on the right audience here. I think you really need to rewrite this and direct it at Jews and what's wrong with Judaism. And, you have books that repudiate Christianity, but leave it to those. Have books that repudiate Islam, but leave it to those. And then the rest of the books repudiate Judaism, because that's the target audience that God has and he wants to return. So I did know it. And I was much more confident in repudiating Christianity because I was there than I ever was repudiating Judaism. Judaism is a much tougher animal because it doesn't really exist. Now, that's a very odd thing to say, but Judaism really doesn't exist. There are so many flavors of it, so many distortions of it, so many false claims regarding it, so much insanity that is drooled out of these rabbis that rather than a book that's short, like the New Testament or the Quran's even shorter than that, and you can go through it and say, this is why this is not true. I can disprove everything in the Christian New Testament. I can disprove and have everything in the Quran. It isn't physically possible to disprove everything in the Talmud because it's libraries upon libraries upon libraries of drivel. So it's a very different animal in that case. And rather than in the case of the Quran and New Testament, what you have is men claiming that they're speaking for God, and you can repudiate what they say. And Judaism is men arguing with other men.
Right.
And so it's an entirely different beast, which you can say is they got everything wrong. You look at the Rambam's 13 pillars of Judaism, and there isn't a single one of them that's correct. His timeline is not correct. His understanding of Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim, Shabuw'ah, Taruw'ah, Kipurym, and Sukkah are all wrong. He just led everybody astray. But the last thing I want to do with my time is to go through everything that he wrote and repudiate it line by line. When you just go through, okay, well, let's take the 13 pillars, and I will demonstrate why all 13 are wrong, and then you just move on, or his timeline, why it's wrong. But it doesn't do any good, by the way. He would tell you that there are 613 laws in the Torah, and there's not one law in the Torah. Mm-hmm. And he would tell you that the 613 laws, because that's the same number of bones in the human body. Well, there's 19 bones in the human body. Not 613. Well, then he said, well, it's the same number of seeds in a pomegranate. Well, no, it isn't either.
Pumpkin.
Then he'll tell you, that his timeline begins with creation. I said, well, you're only 14 billion years off. At what point are you going to say, I'm not going to buy that anymore? That's stupid. And then he based the rest of his timeline not on genealogies in the Torah, but on the sanctification of the moon and the number 19, which is the magic number of the Quran. So, you look at Rabbi Akiba, and he's the father of Rabbinic Judaism, and he countered Paul's fake Messiah with a false Messiah of his own. And so if the founder of your religion is foisting a false Messiah on people, if his 13 or 35,000 acolytes all die and he blames their death on themselves, and then he brings the wrath of Rome on to your people and starts the diaspora, and he's the founder of your religion, it's hand to face. And how are you going to reason with people that are already that stupid? It's just, now we all should have been as smart as you were and figured out when it was 13 years old. I wasn't that on my game, and you weren't either, were you, Kirk?
No.
You were beginning to see cracks, but yeah, you were still trying to cling to it when we first met 20 years ago.
Yeah, I studied 20 years of theology on my own. Got to see everything, every book you'd ever imagine, ancient things in the collection in Los Angeles. And I lived through so many lectures, and finally he went total Paulism one day, and I said, I can't figure out anything you're talking about with Paul. So I thought there was something in there And then I just gave up. And then, of course, Terry found you and said, everything you believe is a lie.
Everything you believe is a lie. Yeah, and it's I
You don't talk
remember
like that. I talk like that.
Yeah,
You don't talk like that.
even before you, Noah, who is your good friend, the winery owner now. Noah woke up just in stark in the middle of the night, because it was coast to coast. Coast to coast goes from midnight to 3 o'clock a.m. And that's midnight to 3, I think, Pacific time. But maybe no, that's Eastern time. So and he was probably in California, and he wakes up in the middle of the night, and I'm finishing one of the I don't know how many shows, 3, 4, 5 I did of Coast to Coast, and my last line is, it's true, Jesus never existed. And he's going, what? Can I rewind that? What did he say? Who was that again? And he gave him a website? Okay, let me go to that. Jesus never existed. Well, it's true. He didn't ever exist. And I proved it. And that goes back a long time ago to make that claim. That's pretty, that's going way beyond, I think that Billy Graham's a nutcase. To actually saying the person that they claim is the founder of the religion, Jesus Christ, never existed. It's true. He never existed. Paul made him up in 52 CE. Mm-hmm. So when you found out that your wife's fascination with the Torah was in the company of people who shared your disdain for religion, it made you more comfortable?
Not till later, because if I just kind of back, it was 2012 roughly is when you started listening to the first shows. Not fair to you at all, so I apologize in advance. When I would hear on the radio, I heard a voice, and it's talking about, to me, sounded like religion. So I just shut it out. The switch is off. I don't want to deal with this. Leave the room. It's like, and then
been there, done that, right?
Yeah, it's like, your father, I think you maybe know her history. If not, she can share it. But her dad was in a cult when she was younger. And I go, what are you doing now? Is this going to be another cult thing or something? And I wasn't listening to what you were saying. I was just assuming, right? Doing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so that led to just shutting it off, and a wedge that I self-produced. She wasn't part of it. It was me producing it in our relationship. So, but we love each other very much. So we figured out how to work around it. And that went on for a long time. So we fast forward probably about 3 years ago, that ticking time bomb thing. I spoke with Leah for 3 hours and 5 minutes the other day, and she asked me if I was Yahud, because I have this thing in my head that, with the last election, all the stuff that's going, just everything. Wow, we're headed towards bad stuff. So I thought, low testosterone, I'm getting older. I cannot focus anymore. I just don't know what to do. I need to do something. And then I started closet listening as I'm walking through the house, and I started hearing your voice, and I was like, what did he just say? And I swear a lot, so I'm going to talk slow so I don't. But I said, what did that blankety blank just say? He said, goddamn religion. I'm like, okay. And then from there, I'd already heard enough to where I had an interest. And so it started to make more sense. And it didn't bring me back to when I was the child of like all the things like flashbacks. When you see that, it reminds me of that. But then hearing this didn't remind me of that. So it started to be more and more. And then we'd talk more and more. And so it was
very different.
It's very different. And then so we did the first Shabbat family show. I think it was on the 27th of February. And from that point, I know some of this stuff sounds cliche. And when I talk about things, it reminds me of how people, and then I saw a bright light and just all these things. But I felt lighter, and I felt different between her and I. Like that wedge that was there for so long was gone. And it was just very strange, self-induced, unfair to her. I was breaking her heart, Craig. I mean, it was miserable for her, and she would cry and she'd express it. And I was, I guess, being stubborn or just locked on to just no, I want to be safe. I don't want to deal with this. And so it was a matter of time of like, okay. And she was always patient. We'd always, the Shabbat would come up, the different things, and she would say it, and I would say it, Happy Shabbat, and there was no meaning to it. Now I understand a little bit more about the meaning. So when I say it, it means something, it's there. But it's better for both of us. But I'd always known, even when with church stuff, that there's God. I mean, I was told there was God when I was younger, right? But leaving that behind, well, how did we get, the old question, how did we get here? Why are we all those questions? And well, we didn't get here by accident. I mean, you start learning in school, science and the universe, and you're like, what? So if it was by accident, there would be plenty more universes just like this, and a bunch of, and everything's so finite. 5,000 miles from the sun, closer or away, we're dead. I mean, we don't exist. Everything. I do have one question.
Don't spin in the orbit at the space that we do, then we're all dead. Without a molten core, we're all dead. Without a moon that's abnormally large for our planet, we're all dead. Without Teutonic plates, we are all dead. Without Jupiter being this gas giant that is, fairly near us in orbit, we're all dead.
Exactly.
Without it being the exact same star, the size that it is, we're all dead. If we're closer to the center of the Milky Way galaxy, we're all dead. It's the likelihood that there is life on another planet. I think there's probably a possibility of that. Intelligent life, so that you're going to buck the odds of genetics and thermodynamics, not a prayer. No. It's just no. And let's just pretend that the 10 to the 70th power is possible. We would never find them. They would never find us. There's no communication. The distances are too great. And so when you're dealing with a universe that is, 100 billion light years across, and that's just the part that you know, and it's got to be in the range of 14 billion years old, and has 2 trillion galaxies that we know of, and big bangs occurred everywhere. You're just not dealing with something that is rational, that it just happened, and that intelligent life emerged when everything is against it.
So just scientists trying to explain it, and the legit ones that are honest about it really don't have the answer. They can try to explain it away, everything that you can, but so I just left it at that, and just till now, and I just needed to know, is Yahowah there? Obviously God.
So. And part of that is the soul. There are no scientific experiments as to try to examine what a soul is. They cannot measure it. They can't weigh it. It has no energy, no weight, and so. You realize that the thing that animates us, that makes it possible for us to observe our environment and respond to it, actually exists outside of the 3 dimensions that we have perception of. So,
if I may make an observation, Russell is here because he had an open mind, after all. And now it's due diligence for him to understand and to weigh the evidence. I'm glad he's here. I love it when couples can stay together.
Oh, I think it is marvelous.
That's fantastic.
They would have stayed together just because they do love each other. You guys really have a marvelous history. I mean, we only knew it from one side, from Mariah, you may have driven that wedge, and you may have hurt her, but not from anything she ever told us. From what she told us, you walked on water. You were the best man of all men in the history of men. So your wife definitely is a huge supporter. Clearly, I'm sure she was hopeful that you'd come to this, but you did the part that most people can't do. You renounced religion, and that put you automatically in a much better position where the truth had a chance to resonate. And it sounded like what you said is that you were really concerned over this last election, which tells me that you're not deeply invested in politics either.
No, I mean, the first time Rahab was put in office, I was like, people were talking about it. That's not going to happen. Do you know his history? You know who he is? That's a joke, right? That's right. Wannabe reality TV star and all the other things he is. And then it happened, and you're like, okay. And then the Biden thing and all that, not to go into politics too much, and then Trump gets in office again. And I'm like, I've never registered to vote. My dad, he fought in World War II. His thing is, there's foul words involved, but he said that all politics, both sides, are shysters, the old school. He was born in 24. That's all I heard with the, and growing up. So that's what I heard. So, you listen to your father, not so much my mother because of things, but that really stuck with me. And then as you grow up, you see it play out. It's who's in office this time. If you're even paying attention, it's like, well, things are messed up. They're doing the same stuff. Who's in office this time? The garbage, it's a cesspool.
Mm-hmm.
But with Trump, the whole thing going on, I'm like, oh, I've never registered to vote, had no interest in doing it. This year, I had the last 3 years, like I said, I had a lot of things going on upstairs. And I got on my phone and I'm like, I think I'm going to register to vote, and I was watching just nonstop, all the politics stuff. I'd never done it before because I felt like this really it's spiraling and it's going. And I didn't know about, Shabuw'ah. I didn't know about that at the time. And it's one of those things where this, whether it's nuclear war, we're done, or just the economy. And then we have, people killing people for food. I mean, globally and stuff. I know what's going on. And so that was something wow. So this is.
So it sounds like one of the things that appealed to you to bridge this gap is the realization that we are not making any attempt to isolate anyone that is part of the covenant family. We are all trying to be set apart unto Yahowah, but we are part of a world that we strive to understand, to explain, and to warn. And so rather than just disparaging a world or trying to withdraw from it, we spend about half of our time talking about what's wrong, what the prophets had to say about where we are in the timeline and how it's going to devolve and what the future is going to bring. And that at this point, it looks like, every time we do a show on what the prophets have said, it's like we're reading today's newspaper. Just that it was written 3,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been watching since the 27th of February, and I've pretty much watched every show. I can't always watch them as they're live, but I do it throughout the day or when I get home. And the most recent one with Noah on there was 3 hours and some odd minutes, close to it. Well, close to 3 hours, and it was long, and I missed the entire show. So, and then there was part of another one recently, so we're going to watch it this weekend. Okay. But the news today was like, I need to watch that again. You and Kevin were, breaking it down and stuff. So if I laughed inappropriately earlier when you were saying stuff, I find some of the things you say, your delivery is very deadpan. And so I'm trying not to, I'm on camera and have to remember, because we laugh we have a lot of fun. We joke all the time about everything. Yeah. So, but then obviously there's very serious things and meaningful and very disturbingly sad things about all the people in religion that just are lost and it's gone, it's over for them. So anyway, so I just want to make sure that's clear.
I have gotten to the point after having written 4,000 pages on Islam and another almost 4,000 pages on Twistianity, that after a while you learn to find the humor in even the darkest things. And today's news is really dark. It's hard to imagine that anyone could be as bad as Kublai Khan or Tamerlane or Nero or Hitler or Stalin or Mao Zedong, but we have somebody that's that bad.
Yeah, he has the means to be worse. He has the
means to be worse, and is destroying the world economically and militarily. And when you are ahead of the curve and you knew this 20 months ago and diagnosed exactly who he was and what was going to happen, you feel like you have an obligation to be consistent and to continue to tell people, this is what we're up against. This is what he is going to do. And particularly to Israel, who has become a vassal of Donald Trump and has isolated themselves from the world. The one man that you trust the most is the one that you should trust the least.
Yeah.
And then to see Netanyahu, who's an utter scumbag, mocking everyone and saying, "Oh yeah, we'll go in and get the uranium. We'll just send people in and they'll go get it."
That worked out great.
Oh yeah, the U.S. tried it. Well, first we tried to obliterate it, and of course, according to Trump, because he's a confabulator, everything in his mind has no reality.
It's perfect. Reality. It's wonderful.
And he obliterated it, and then less than a year later, he had to go in and try to destroy it. He couldn't destroy it, so now he's trying to go get it. So he had the rescue of Captain Uranium. I actually think he was a corporal or colonel, right? He was actually a Colonel Uranium that we were after there. All we lost was $1 billion of equipment going after Colonel uranium, and now the Jews think, oh yeah, we'll just march into Fordor. We'll just go grab it. Ishtafan, why not? We'll just go take it. You imagine you're gonna walk out with 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium in concrete lined containers, and you're gonna go grab it from underground in these concrete bunkers, and you're gonna carry it out. And
down the bucket.
What are you gonna use to fly it out? Since anything that flies low, they shoot down. I mean, this is the dumbest thing ever. Well, just attacking Iran again was you wonder why people could possibly think that your justification is that Iran can't have a bomb, when in fact for the last 15 years Iran's had the uranium and the know-how to build a bomb, and they didn't build a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you now bombing them to make it certain they're going to have a bomb when they didn't have one?
Well, that would be American circular reasoning, or as we would like to call it, exceptionalism.
Yeah. And so how do they think they're going to find it? Like, they know where it's at. You just go on that Iranian webpage and go, okay, give us directions to it. Where's it at?
Third Avenue.
Yeah, there you go.
The thing that the Iranians learned, and the rest of the world watches, because the Americans cannot learn. We're incapable of learning from our history or the history of anybody else in the world. And so they knew exactly what we're going to do. So the Iranians came up with a strategy that they would replicate everything and they would bury everything. So everything that's important to the Iranians is replicated. So there isn't a place where that uranium sits, but many. And number two, it is buried, and it's buried so deeply that we can't touch it. And when there's times of war like this, they seal off the entrances. So you aren't going in to get it. And even if you knew where some of it was, that it exists in other places. And at this point, because of the Belt and Road Initiative of the Chinese and the Caspian Sea connection into to Russia, and the backing of North Korea, it's almost a 0% possibility that the Iranians don't already have a nuclear bomb and the missiles to launch them. And I think it's also it's certain that the Iranians aren't going to use a nuclear bomb. I think that the nuclear war is not going to be started by Iran using a nuclear bomb. I think they're absolutely content on using conventional weapons, and their conventional weapons are so effective, and their drones and their missiles. There's no reason for them to escalate beyond that and bring the wrath of the world on them when they're winning the war of public opinion. I think the nuclear strike is going to be that the world has put Putin in a position, the Europeans have, where they're now providing Ukraine with very sophisticated missiles and targeting information and bombing inside of Russia, where Russia has two choices: either to roll over and play dead or attack Europe. And I think it's certain that Russia is going to attack Europe. And Europe has no air defenses. They have no troops. They have no military of any kind. And so they have no way to defend themselves when Russia retaliates against their factories for sending these missiles into Russia. And so the Europeans are going to say, well, the only tool we have is to nuke them.
Yeah.
And if they were to do that, Russia would destroy Western Europe. So I think that is the more likely scenario in terms of nuclear catastrophe. But I'm not even sure it's necessary. I don't even think we need nuclear conflagration to destroy the world. I think the thing you've already mentioned is inevitable, which is complete economic collapse and anarchy as people try to kill others for food.
Then you don't have scorched earth. You have something that is worth something after it's done. You just take over economically. I mean, China's been doing it for years. We just stuck out our throat and just put all our industry over there. Let's keep doing it. And now look what they're doing. I watched the show the other day and you were mentioning their economy, but also the buildings they're building, just how fast they can pump out, 500 ships in a year. I mean, that sounds like World War II with the Kaiser ships, one every 7 days. Those were kind of junk, but they're doing amazing things. They've stolen enough stuff from around the world. now they have the technology. It's not reverse engineering. They're creating things.
Oh,
so
much
left behind for sure.
Yeah. Well, at the height of World War I, America was making aircraft at a prodigious pace, and we made the Liberty ships at a prodigious pace, and we were pretty decent at making aircraft carriers. The aircraft carriers were not very stout. They had largely wood decks, and our Liberty ships were falling apart. You put them in water, and they would crumble. So we weren't making anything very good. We just made a lot of it. Yep. And there were a few things. Occasionally, we had some engineers that made a pretty like the Mustang, the P-51 was a pretty interesting advancement, but it took two countries. It was the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine that made it actually work. And a lot of times it was just happenstance. We got lucky. But the Chinese are not lucky with their ships. They're making the world's largest and most sophisticated oil tankers, LNG ships, cargo ships, and they're pumping out a aircraft carrier every year. And all total, it's 300 ships, which is more than the rest of the world combined. And but going forward, the booking of orders, 90% of the major cargo ships booked by countries around the world, including China, are being ordered and will be built in China. It's a complete monopoly. And if you can control everything, then there's no way to fight a war against them. But it's still, even China knows the reason they accepted Trump this last week is not because they like him or respect him. It's because it's in China's interest, as fast as they're growing, for the world economy to stay uncollapsed for as long as possible. Because they will have no markets if the world economy collapses. So while their economies are good, they don't have the purchasing power within China to absorb what they make. So it'd be catastrophic for China. So the United States destroying itself economically would also destroy China. And they know it. So they're trying to keep the United States from destroying itself, which is why the Chinese and the Russians don't sink American ships in the Arabian Sea. Otherwise, I think they would. Yeah. So it's the news was the thing that was the thing that brought you in to at least listen, and then from there it was the fact that the messaging is pretty. If you're a guy that likes evidence and reason, the messaging is pretty intellectual. It's pretty stout. Yeah.
And hate is a virtue.
Yes. Well, that was the other one, the whole twisty entity and just all the names and stuff. I appreciated that because obviously that you're not a fan of it then. But Leah saying that too in that song, and I was talking to her, and that was something I expressed. And I can hate really well. I learned it from when I was younger watching it.
You liked my song.
I do it with reason. I love it. A bunch of good songs. Like Sukkah, I learned right away the very first day I picked up my guitar. When I heard it and I started playing, it came in the studio. Literally right here are the lyrics. And she said I could have printed them. I'm like, no, when you write them down, I learn them easier. So it's just one of those things. But
you're gifted.
Yeah, so it wasn't the news. Because on the contrary, it was one of those things I recently said to Mariah was, so we're listening to the show and it's split where there's news at the beginning. It's like, are we talking about politics? We're just this is inevitable. We know, we see what's happening. It's good to be informed. And she goes, that's what it's for. I'm like, okay, I'll accept that. Otherwise I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. I need to learn the Torah. I need to do that. That's what I'm here for. But both, because I do like facts and numbers. I'm a guy. I'm interested in that stuff. And, so it's one of those things, but it also relates, to it's prophetic. So you're going from history and then it's replaying itself out, and everything that you've been talking about is like, yeah, it's right there. It's an example of me trying to learn things and reading. So I had the website Ask went down and I was like, oh, and I'm just starting. I'm infant, right? I'm trying to learn the words and the translations. And then so doing the glossary that Kirk made was kind of, okay, that works, but I'm still a little lost. So I started, every show, I'm going to write down the show on a piece of paper, write down the words I hear that I don't know or subject matter that I want to learn. And I started doing that. I did a bunch of things like that. And the strangest thing happened recently, how the shows now that have the transcription in there, you can read it. And I was like,
yes.
What? I can then as time stamped, and I'm like, and there was a bunch of coincidence. She started laughing. It's like, it just seems like he knows, doesn't he? And I was like,
you started the basics right after.
Yeah, because
decided.
Yeah, and it was kind of those. Yeah, the basics too. That was like, did you tell him that? I was like, are you in cahoots or something? I don't know. I'm just sort of skeptical, and you see things like that. You're like, okay, coincidence. But it's been amazing, and the site is just wow.
Ooh, so wow, it's a
super useful. Mariah was reading books, and there was a few people to talk to. There's chat, so she put in the grind and the work from that. For me, it's like almost being spoon fed, but so I'm taking advantage of that. I'm like, wow. So, and trying not to ask her for everything. I need to do it myself. And I already it was made very clear in a conversation with Kevin that he's not the push button guy. Like, oh, call Kevin and push the button. He'll fix it for you. So I'm I've had an interest to want to talk to him, but now I'm like, I don't know if I should ask him anything. Maybe if I come to him with a question and I've done research and I found out, maybe then I'll run it by him and it'd be more beneficial than, hey, just tell me,
Yeah, actually the new search function that searches both the books and the vlogs is really good. So you want to have questions answered, you search them, but the Ask Yada's AI assistant, it is back up and been running for a while.
I've been using it. It's different than it was before. So, but it's nice. There's so much there, and then it can transfer to the books and then go read it. So I'm still an introductor to God. So
occasionally, about once a week or so, I'll ask it a question just to see how it's doing. And I've been really impressed with the answers here recently. So I think we're on the right track with it. And Dr. Jeff, you have been with us long enough to know that as it relates to Yahowah, you have to talk about both the good and the bad. It is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is it not? We don't have sound for Dr. Jeff.
It's him. He'll unmute. There we go.
Okay.
Absolutely, unequivocally, it is all about Etz Hadat and Etz HaChaim. Shabbat Shalom, my precious family. Russell, it was a pleasure to hear from you, and I want to congratulate you on having the audacity and temerity to give up your preconceived notions and follow up with what Leah mentioned about having the open mind and taking the next step to learn to be a troubadour and ambassador for Yah. I also want to emphasize to you how blessed you are to have a chazak woman. Okay? You and Leah are kindred spirits. And not to mention to have a really amazing Shem. What a name. Moriah. This is what it's about. And at this time, on the cusp of Shabuw'ah, with many asking, why, what if I'm not included? It's the time not to ask that question, but to really realize that it's imperative and contingent upon all of us to do what is necessary, so that if we don't fly with this next one, which is probably going to be a year and 4 months, that we educate and do what is necessary and what we're expected to do from y'all. This is very absolutely important. And I look forward to today's discussion about Yow'el and some of the terms that we've just become familiar with, such as Nasak, where Yada is the one who's literally woven into the fabric of the story, and he is the shofar. And it is imperative that we iterate and reiterate the message at this time. And it's just it's exciting to see both of you, and it's an honor and a privilege, really.
I think one of the things I want to follow up on what Dr. Jeff said, and Dr. Jeff and I have been buds now for well over 20 years, or maybe it's 22, 23 years that we've been we've been friends and been together on this journey, is that two things are happening now that are slightly different than where we have been along this journey. And one of them is that we really have no choice, but over the next year, the message is going to be very sober. We're entering a really, really bad time. Lots of people are going to die. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of lying out there. The world's going to be turned very racist, anti-Semitic, and chaotic. And so there's a lot of messaging that we have to convey that is pretty sober. You know, they're happily ever after is only 7 years away, but it's a rough road between here and there. And the second thing is that we have tried to pull away from reaching out to somebody that, you know, would not have been part of the covenant. Somebody would have rejected it. So you're actually coming in at a time that we aren't engaged in any kind of outreach to people because of the fact that there isn't enough time to assimilate what you need to know to be ready for this next harvest. And so what we're trying to do is to get everybody that is part of the family educated and up to speed so that they're prepared when we come back to do the job as well as it can possibly be done. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody's going to hear what we say and something's going to resonate. That has always been the nature of things. That you hear something, say, "Wait a minute, that makes sense to me. I've never heard that before, but that makes sense with me." There'll be a lot of people that will continue to happen with, but our focus really now is to grow up, to mature, to have as many of us that can contribute actually to contribute to make a difference in people's lives. So we are learning at the most prodigious pace in our history in terms of being exposed to things, and that should be as it is. It's like when Dr. Jeff went to medical school. Your first year as a medical student, everything is hard. You know, you're learning a whole new vocabulary and a whole new way to think. And by the time you're in your final fellowships, you can absorb 100 times more in a week than you could in a year previously. And that's kind of where we are. And fortunately, you're with a woman that has been with us for a long time, and your mind is very elastic, and you're fascinated by this. So I think you're going to keep pace. It's just that, you know, I'll apologize in advance. We are moving right now at such a pace that even for folks that have been with us for a long time, it's hard to keep up. And but it's very exciting. I mean, it's the most exciting time we've ever been in, because there's just so many things that we're learning that just fall into place. You say, "Oh, that's the way it really needed to be." You just take a breath and you go, "Oh, now I understand how that worked." You know, you kind of say, "How in the world did Noah figure it out?" You know, who came and Dowd was really a mess. I mean, he was a real mess. He was doing everything wrong. How in the world did that guy get his act together and figure it out and start writing all these beautiful songs and then volunteer to fill Pesach Matz and Kipurym when, you know, a couple of years prior to that, he's out knocking off a woman's husband because she looked cute. I mean, come on. How did that get resolved? And when you find out how those things got resolved and how God dealt with it, where he said, you know, I'm not going to resolve this. I've got to fix her because I'm not going to compromise who I am. And right now I'm furious. And so he dealt with it. And then we get to learn that we don't have to be perfect. Not looking for perfect, looking for commitment, for resolve, for continued growth, just to show that if you are knocked down, you make a mistake, you'll learn from it, get back up and go. You know, that's
to use your analogy, Yada, is the medical analogy is that even after you know and incorporate and think you know, you still are learning and changing and striving to be tamim. So you could finish the job, not be perfect, but finish the job and be honest with yourself that if things were partially right or not right at all, to go back and figure it out. Right. And then DTRT, do the right thing, and exercise the due diligence. And that's what makes this so real. And what makes you very, very special and unique among individuals. From the moment I heard you speaking about tea with terrorist and prophet with doom, element of truth and having the audacity, temerity, and courage to go against conventional thought and to question and then figure it out. That's been the modus operandi, and to go where the words lead, and then to wield words wisely.
Yeah. I'm not sure there's even 5 people in the history of the world who have spoken out adroitly against Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, as well as Marxism, and to do so on the basis of knowledge and not opinion. It's a fairly unique life that we have lived up to this point, but it has plowed new turf, and God's point of view on this is that you have to clear the obstacles before people can approach. Because if you are Jewish and you've been told that God's name is unpronounceable, that it's Hashem, and that the rabbis wrote their own Torah, and that's the one that takes precedence, and that Pesach is the first day of a 7-day celebration, and it doesn't include matzah anymore or Bikurim, and that we don't have Towrah anymore, we have Rosh Hashanah. And Kipurym is a day not for reconciliations, but for affliction and twirling chickens over your head.
Or Purim.
And that Purim is something that you ought to participate in. And Hanukkah, you have to do a lot of unlearning before God's plan will resonate with you. And that's something that is essential for us to convey, is the unlearning that is necessary before God's plan works. So now we have our a little more normal cast of characters here. I don't know how they disappeared. We certainly didn't shoo them away, so we don't know how they disappeared. But let's go ahead and introduce your song, Leah. Tell us a little bit about this week's song and what the lyrics were written to convey, and who helped you with the animation in the background.
Okay. This song is... You had a call for everyone to give a testimony on how they came to know Yahowah. Being the unconventional girl that I am, I thought to write a song about it.
Okay.
And it begins with a woman who is lost and her life basically being dust and changing that through a woman of valor.
Okay. Dust of fire.
Who led to Yada, who led to a doorway to the Shamayim. And it is where Yahowah put his name here in this realm is with you.
Okay. Well.
And I wrote a song about it.
You wrote a song about it? And who did the animation on this song?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it in so long. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It was Oladi Popo.
Oh, yeah. Oladi Papu.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So are you in a position you can play the song for us?
I am. Anytime.
Okay. Eileen, you're promoting it behind you. Dust of Fire. Is that it?
Dust of Fire. Let's go.
Yeah, Dust of Fire. Okay.
Was dust in the dawn, a hush in the reeds, a sparrow beneath the shadow of the Nile of time that had not yet spoken my name. Then I sought Yahowah, like rain on a buried sea, like fire folded into cedar, like the first silver thread of morning breaking the rim of the dark. I heard your footsteps of the one who comes home. I am the Amma. I have no palace, I have no crown, only my open palms. I have no song of my own except the one you placed in my breath. Yahowah, you are the well hidden in a wilderness, the lantern in the hollow of the darkest night, the path of dawn laid across the face of the sea. You are the wild wind that wakes the olive tree, the pulse beneath the vineyard soil, the compassion that bends low to lift the ones the world has broken. I turned from the noise of men, from altars of ash and echoes of hay. Quiet, your name was a thunderclap alone. It was also the shelter after the storm. Yahowah, Yahowah. Yahowah, Yahowah. I am yours to remember. Write your name upon my brow, on the inside of my waiting heart, like a blue flower in the spring. Let me be the small song that rises from the clay when your breath moves through it and gives it life. Yahowah, Yahowah, you are the morning in the throat of the dark. You are the fire beyond the veil of the hills. You are the lamp at the feet of those who are beloved. I respond with open hands. Here I am, and here is my song.
Always got a chance to play the Asher.
Wow.
Oh my! There are so many times in songs that there is a line that just strikes you and say, "How in the world did the songwriter come up with that line?" It's such a beautiful twist of phrase, and there in this song, there must have been 10 of them. There are at least 10 that. You heard it say, I need to see that again. That is really...
Exactly.
Really,
can you show that again?
Yeah, can you show that again? I have been working with Leah to encourage her to write fewer songs. That might sound crazy, but she heard, I think it's yesterday, Isaiah 57, and it's Sing, Barren Woman, Sing. Oh, Mariah, sounds like you can finish that with it. Little hiccup there. We're going to play the song again, so you'll have a chance to hear it. But and the reason I've actually encouraged you to write fewer songs is that it's difficult. None of us are keeping up. It's
not my problem.
The Ruwth song from last week. It's such a tear jerk and gut wrench, and yet it's joyous. It's the single most important story, I think, told by Yahowah throughout the entirety of all of it is that story. And you see it play out in your ears and your eyes and your mind. And, you want to relish it for months before you move on to the next one. And yet this one, there were two aspects of this one that struck me. One is that there were at least 10 phrases in there where the turn of phrase is magical. And there are, this is the only one, and I think the close that had the credits were actually for the Mr. Babylon song. We just put Asher at the end of it because we love Asher at the end of it. The graphics of this were done by our Nigerian techno wizard who is showing great skills in all of this, I think. But the thing that I liked about it, it was the first song where somebody took a theme, and this was the theme of Leah in white. It's young Leah in white. She starts off as Supergirl with the cape, and then we see Leah in white going through all of these scenes. And I just think that following Leah through this journey through life, as opposed to just a bunch of random scenes, it was really a storyboard. It was produced like a theatrical movie, and so visually, I think it was the best score of anything we have done thus far, and it has the most memorable lines.
Well, the song is very personal. It is my thoughts and feelings. It's out there for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know how I came to the covenant? Listen to the song.
I have spent the last few days working on rewriting the introduction to and the outro to, as well as the translations of and the commentary within the 31st Mashal. Probably the most transformative narrative thus far in our covenant family. And in that, there are so many absolute, irrefutable affirmations that this woman who is speaking to Dowd is redeeming the kinsman redeemer. The whole conversation is about Dowd being a drunkard and a womanizer, and this woman is saying, "Listen, I'm gonna come to you where you are. I know where you are. You can't you can't remember which head is more important, and you don't know how to treat women or what to perceive in women, and so she meets him exactly where he is to take him to where he must go, and it is so beautifully done, this narrative, and it is so clearly Leah as the person who is that mother, the Amma, delivering it. And you go through that again with now what we have learned over these past couple of months since we wrote that. It's just absolutely amazing how this journey has developed, and how we have learned how God managed to keep the human experience and the human experiment from going off the rails and giving up on us. And he has this consistent way of fixing it and keeping it back on track. And there was no time that was more difficult than when Dowd was just being a jerk. And it's amazing how she talked him off the ledge, how she met him where he was and brought him back to reality. And then how that was followed up by the 89th Mizmor. It's the most poignant story. And then it brings you right back to the heart of Ruwth. And how, everybody here either is an introvert or wants to be an introvert. I'm dying to be an introvert again.
I have an observation.
And you got Leah, who is an introvert, who is clearly Ruwth. And yet Ruwth, she is a dynamic woman. I mean, she is the one who is the spark plug. She's the one who lights that flame. She's the one who says, your people are my people. Where you go, I go. Your God is my God. And one of the most bold statements ever made by anyone. It's a woman who's making it. And then she goes right for Boaz. She says, that's the man. And she makes it happen. And her first, significant conversation with him is, he asks who you are. Says, I'm the Amma. I am that productive woman, and I'm going to deliver to you the kinsman redeemer. And it just happens to be Boaz, who's the guy who's, half of the two porticos on the home for Yahweh's name. And you read that story, and it's this unbelievably profound love story. And here's a woman who has been pretty much a introvert, but when she knows what she wants, she goes after it, and she does in that story. And
two things.
And that's the woman who wrote this song, who's sharing her thoughts, because Isaiah wrote about the Amma too, 57th chapter. And he's speaking directly to the Amma. He's saying to the Amma, you're delivering the kinsman redeemer. She's the mother of Dowd in in this previous life. And he's telling her, sing, woman, sing. So,
if I may say something, both to Boaz and to Ruth, Leah, Amma. We're speaking right now about Ruth 3:9, and you being able to deliver the kinsman redeemer. Well, you both had to do that and work together so that we would all be redeemed without
I'll go further.
Yeah.
I'll go further than that.
Okay.
Because we say these things out loud and we don't ask ourselves questions. Here's a woman coming from Moab who is both a widow, who has left her family, her country, her home, her people, and she is, as you say, the lowest of the lowest form.
A widow that's childless.
The lowest of the low.
A woman, a widow, and childless. Yeah, that's the lowest of. And by the way, she is one of them. She's considered a goy and a xenophobic culture. She's 0 for 4.
That's right.
And her sponsor, by the way, is an old woman. She's 0 for 5.
Yeah, and she walks up to basically the landowner and the big shot in Bethlehem and says, I am your Amma.
Yeah.
Where does she get the nerve to say that?
I am your
Either it's prophetic.
It is.
She
prophetic.
doesn't know anything about these people, she knows nothing.
Obviously she did. I go where you go. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. She obviously knew a lot more than
Naomi and her talked Torah. For sure.
Yeah, Naomi was very well respected in Bethlehem. And of course, Bethlehem was the breadbasket of what was considered to be Israel at the time. It really wasn't a country. It was an amalgamation of independent tribes. It wouldn't be brought into a nation really until Dowd, and she's the great grandmother of Dowd. And later on, she is Dowd's mother. But yeah, when she makes that statement, that's profound. But she goes right after him. But she goes after him. And, he's the mayor of Bethlehem. And Bethlehem is the ticket, the breadbasket of Yahowah and of Israel at the time. And she does it the proper way. She goes into the field. She's harvesting for Naomi, and she's working harder than anybody. And he notices, what's this gorgeous woman out there? Working harder than anyone by the Torah rules, knows exactly what she's doing and harvesting the corner of my field. And he goes over there and talks to her, and she wants to explain who she is. And he says, oh, no, I know all about you. Yeah, I know all about you. And it's just the most amazing story. And then she knows that he's going to be there at the next harvest, that he's going to be celebrating a meal with the team. He's going to be out working with everybody, and is going to finish that meal and sleep right out on the threshing floor after a wonderful, productive harvest. And she sneaks right up to him, lays down by his feet, and says, put your cloak over me. And he says, who are you? And he knew who she was because he had met her before. So but he's asking, okay, who are you? Who are you really? And she says, I am your Amma. I am your productive mother. And I'm going to deliver the kinsman redeemer, and it can be with you or for you or anything you want to put as a preposition in there, but they would give birth to him.
7.
And they would redeem him from himself. Just 3 generations hence. It's such a great story. You guys are chatting with one another. Does that story resonate with you? You like Ruth and Boaz?
Very much so.
Yeah. It's going to be my favorite thing to translate. I'm getting really, really close to being able to do it now and get the rough drafts of these books all published and on the site so that everybody can read what we have learned. But it's marvelous. But I want to go and play the song again. You guys probably missed it because you were dealing with internet connectivity kinds of things. It's happened, it happens to all of us. So it's just part of the modern world, and we do live stream. So that's the way it goes. But I want to play the song again because, as I was saying when you guys were gone, it's not only a great celebration of a life's journey, and this is the person that in an inspired text is called the greatest of all women. She is called the Amma. She is called the Ashar, the blessing and the benefit, because of all she has been through to provide salvation for all of us because of what she did for the kinsman redeemer. So for her to be inspired to write songs, particularly after what we read in the 31st Mashal, it's meaningful for all of us. God says you ought to be celebrating this, and it's not just in that mashal. It's also in Isaiah 57. It's the mirror of that same text. So it's a powerful message, and that's why I think there are lyrics within that song. If you're reading it, and I'm going to play it again this evening and tomorrow, but if you're reading it and you just think about the twist of phrase that she has come up with, there's at least 10 of them in there that are really memorable, and they're all pearls that help us understand the message of Ruth as she delivers the kinsman redeemer and as she's on life's journey. She's been doing this for a long time. So let's play it again, if you wouldn't mind, Maestro. Dust.
Was dust in the dawn, a hush in the reeds, a sparrow beneath the shadow of the Nile of time that had not yet spoken my name. Then I sought Yahowah, like rain on a buried sea, like fire folded into cedar, like the first silver thread of morning breaking the rim of the dark. I heard your name as a new hears a whistle in the field through windwood and stone. I heard your name as a mother hears the steps of the one who comes home. I am the Amma. I have no palace, I have no crown, only my open palms. I have no song of my own except the one you placed in my breath. Yahowah, you are the well hidden in a wilderness, the lantern in the hollow of the darkest night, the path of dawn laid across the face of the sea. You are the wild wind that wakes the olive tree, the pulse beneath the vineyard soil, the compassion that bends low to lift the ones the world has broken. I turned from the noise of men, from altars of ash and echoes of hay. Your name was a thunderclap alone. after the storm. Yahowah, Yahowah. Yahowah, Yahowah. I am yours to remember. Write your name upon my brow, on the inside of my waiting heart, like a blue flower in the spring. Let me be the small song that rises from the clay when your breath moves through it and gives it life. Yahowah, Yahowah. You are the morning in the throat of the dark. You are the fire beyond the veil of the hills. You are the lamp at the feet of those who are beloved. I respond with open hands. Here I am, and here is my song.
Very nice. I was going to say, is it appropriate to clap?
It is. No one can teach the gift of lyrics like those. I could spend a lifetime. I couldn't write them. We can't teach that. That's inspired. It's you're an artist, Kirk. That's how you made your living all of your life. That is artistry. You have it. You don't have it. You can teach a skill so that somebody can take a skill and refine it, and you might even be able to teach me to get beyond a stick man. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go and inspire other people to write songs that have twist of phrase like that. But there is something in that song I think we can teach. The cinematography behind that song was just magnificent. The storytelling, the running in the wind with the leaf following, and then to have the lyric speak of it later in the song, of that leaf blowing in the wind. It was brilliant. Now that can be taught.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please pronounce our Nigerian friend's name?
Aladi Papu. Aladi Papu.
Aladi?
Aladi Papu.
Aladi Papu. Okay.
Mhm.
Aladi Papu. Excuse us for struggling with the name, but I struggle with English, so it has nothing to do with you. It has all to do with us being dense.
No, he's great to work with. You give him a directive, you give him a few samples, and he.
So what I want to encourage here is that he is so gifted at this, and I don't know what tool he used to create that.
Same ones we do.
Okay, the same ones, but he didn't have the same result. Now, I'm going to tell you that it's not that there aren't other things that are spectacular. The Ruwth song was out of this world beautiful, and that the song that has Leah on the cover where she walks through the book into the sea has unbelievable graphics that we're creating, and there are a lot of people that are wringing their hands and say, I don't know if I'm good enough to make it. I don't know what I should be doing, that sort of thing. Well, I don't think you can, that everybody has the ultimate skill to perform at the highest level, the stuff that Mariah, you and Matt are doing and that Ale is doing. But a lot of that can be taught.
They are teaching it.
And what I would actually recommend doing is just like I want Rich to do a series of videos on our setup. Here's the equipment that we have. This is how we use it. This is how we use StreamYard. Kevin would also be great at that because he knows how to use the tools. We should be having a series on educating
how to do videos,
how to use StreamYard, how to what cameras to buy, what kind of lights to buy, what kind of microphone to buy, how you connect it all together, and how you work that through StreamYard so that we are broad-based. We have a foundation. We have lots of contributors. And I think that at the level that you guys are doing videos at this point, it would be a real gift to say, here's the tool we use, and here's the tutorials you can take to get up to speed on it, but this is how we're using that tool. Because I want to just have one thought, then I'll listen to you, Leah, is that, I've done tens of thousands of hours of audio programs, and now we've done a couple of thousand hours of video programs. There's nothing that I can do, nothing I can say, nothing I can write that can compare to the power and the influence of a beautiful song with compelling lyrics that is scored to a theatrical background like that. That is far more effective, far more memorable. It appeals to us cerebrally, emotionally. The lyrics are memorable. That is, if we're going to prevail, that's our tool. That's the tool. And so I just want to applaud what I saw there. I just think it's magnificent. I know there are a lot of people working behind the scenes to make that happen. And all of you that are saying, I don't know if I know enough that I can contribute on a Yahowah book club or thinking Towrah or that sort of thing. Those tools are not beyond anyone's skill set. Mariah, you use them now every day. You create the many of the invites, many of the promo pieces, many of the Do You Yada pieces, and some of the backgrounds for these songs. And I know you're working with Matt, and I know Matt has had no experience with it. And my guess is that wasn't in your wheelhouse either previously. You do have people like John Voight that do marvelous animations, and he did a great job on the Mr. Babylon, which we have to clean up a little bit just because YouTube won't allow us to have some of the more graphic scenes. But
Leah does most of the promos.
Pardon?
Leah does most of the promos, by the way.
Oh, she does. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like one or two.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get her to sleep more and to rest more, and so she is now. She's a closet creator at this point. I'm saying, okay, Leah, it's time to go to bed. You get out of the chair, and she'll sneak back in at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm going to sleep through it. So there's nothing I can do to stop her. But she is a closet. If you heard of closet smokers, well, she's a closet songwriter and creator at this point. But we are producing something that's really special.
I think I recognized very early on that the songs were a very good possibility for us to punch through to Israelis and to Yahud in general. A very musical group of people. But I will absolutely tell the truth. I've never written a song before I started writing.
That's great.
These, never once.
Yeah. And these songs are really powerful. They have. I
have zero musical training.
Yeah.
I can't read a note of music.
Yeah.
It is, kids.
But they are. That's why we have a music page. That's why we're working to make certain that all of our songs are posted on that music page, and that we're bringing our 3 most recent songs to the homepage. And this is the means to get Israel's attention, particularly as things go dark for them. We have a musician that is. Now it sounds like we have 2. Russell, you can pick up a guitar and you could play that tune and you would be able to sing it to those lyrics.
Not sing it. Okay. AI voice on there. I'm not a great singer. Backup harmonies maybe, but yeah, okay. I mean the songs in D minor. Just pick it up and just hear it, of course. But yeah, I can do that. No,
the avatars that I've trained to sing are very highly skilled.
Yeah,
they're like staccato and
Leah has really cultivated her avatars.
Yeah. Yes. For 2 years, I've been training them,
and some of those 2 years of training avatars. And the beauty of the current avatars too, if you really work with them on training, is something that Rich constantly points out, is that when you're really good at it, they become less perfect.
Yep.
They don't hit the note. They sing into the note.
That's
and
what you want.
They have emotional sketches and there's just so much passion that you can put into it if you get your avatar trained to be more human and less perfect.
I'm training one to be more to speak in Hebrew but correctly.
Cool.
So 3 songs that have come out this week. The last one I put out has a Hebrew ending.
Okay.
And that was hard one. But some of these songs take 380 hours to produce.
Wow.
Up towards.
Rich, what are your thoughts on that that last song? You got to see the lyrics play through, so that the song is many things. It's melody, the scoring, the instrumental aspect of it, the voice, and of course the lyrics. And now we have a graphic component to them. You spent your life in the music industry. What are your thoughts?
I still amazed at what a producer she is. I mean, in the industry, there are producers that are not musicians. They don't play any instruments.
Nope.
They know what they know in their ears. And Rick Rubin's a great example.
Yes.
and she has that, and you either have that talent or you don't. For her to come up with what she does, and I watched her write out some of these songs and
on Post-it notes.
on Post-it notes. She's kind of mixing the score at the same time and adding lyrics.
Yeah.
And she's got a skill very few people have, even musicians. And what she's putting out, and the AI is better because we've discussed, it drives me crazy that the vocals sound like a keyboard.
Yeah.
Because that's not how people sing. Even the best of singers don't hit that note.
No.
And they may slide into it, but they'll hit a part of it. But in the early days, just a vibrato was fake. It was so fake because you could tell exactly it's 4 cents off a pitch.
Yeah.
And it would be 4.5 hertz every time. And now everything sounds better.
A lot.
You listen to the stuff she did 2 years ago. The songs are good, but
very mechanical,
the AI techie robot voice.
Yeah, very mechanical.
So that's helped tremendously. So I'm really impressed with how she.
And of course, it's more than just the score. It's more than just the choice of instruments. It's more than just the melody. It is more than just the quality of the voices.
Yeah.
The song works because of the lyrics.
The lyrics are the heart of everything. And she knows how to tell a story.
That's the hardest part, is writing the lyrics meaningful.
That's so easy for me. I think I can sit down and write them in a couple hours. It's very easy. I'm sorry. There's so much material. There's just a lot of material going out there.
I can tell you that when I began this 25 years ago, I didn't think that I would, or we didn't think we'd be in this position, of course, but most certainly didn't think that we would be overshadowed by songs and love it and celebrate the fact of giving it our best effort. I think the effort is really quite good, and yet absolutely overwhelmed and overshadowed by songs. And I think our songs are now as important to this message as the library, as are the blogs. I can start now, and rather than saying, have you read the books? Have you listened to the songs?
Interesting fact about this one. Mm-hmm. It is the only song that I've ever written for myself.
Oh, so you wrote that one just for yourself?
Well, my voice, I wrote it to express me. Like, that's my story.
It's her story.
I don't want to repeat it over and over. That's my story.
So this was the song that you posted as your
as my testimony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is me.
This is
and
me.
It was when I heard it without so much as really seeing the lyrics. Beautiful. I said, well, that's really lovely. That's nice. And then you see it played out like that, and you go, oh my God, that is just.
He's a visual creature.
I am a visual creature. Yeah, that's not so bad though.
Nice job, Team Yada.
Go deep.
All right. Well, we're at 8:00, so we're 2 hours into our program. I'm going to share a little bit from Yow'el, because if I didn't, Dr. Jeff would scold us, because he said he wanted to hear some Yow'el. So if everybody's okay with that,
and the wife will kick you in the shins.
Yeah, the wife will kick me in the shins. Yeah, I have the opposite situation that Mike has, rather than him having to try to work around his wife who doesn't want him to do it. I have a wife that would divorce me if I stopped doing it. So that's probably a good thing. So rejoice over these favorable circumstances, children of Zion. And it's kind of an interesting, the timing of this, Dr. Jeff, is that it follows God's admonition to other life forms. And he says, it's been rough, but you don't need to stress it anymore. I'm going to take care of you, which is the kind of the message I was trying to convey to Mike. Don't stress about where we're going. God says, I'm going to take care of the animals. He's certainly going to take care of his children, right? So why would you stress over what is being said? And so that's the whole point. Don't stress over it. And then he says, so not only don't the animals shouldn't stress, but rejoice over these favorable circumstances. God's restoring the earth to the conditions of Eden. Wouldn't everybody have liked to have been in Eden? I mean, wouldn't that have been cool to be in Eden? And we're all, now the whole world's going to be Eden. I mean, they're going to be Eden with beaches. They're going to be Eden with mountains and snow. They'll be, Eden everywhere. And I just think that is such a marvelous thing, a whole planet that's Eden. Because when you really get down to it, and we talked about this at the beginning of the program, the earth is Eden. Earth is a protected and enclosed garden that's conducive to life. That is what Gan Eden means. And so the earth is Eden. And it's just that we messed it up. And so God's saying, I understand you messed it up. He says, I messed up too. I had no idea that many men were going to be bad men. But we came up with a plan, and we had a few good men and women. They got in, they did their thing, and here we are, and it all worked out. So it turned out good in the end, and so let's just go back to Eden, and now that we figured it out, and we've got some people that have figured it out and made it work. Let's go. Let's go right back to Eden, and it's going to be gorgeous. God, I can't imagine how much fun it's going to be. So
Eden 8.0.
Yeah, it's Eden 8.0. It's marvelous. So it says, rejoice over these favorable circumstances. That's why, I was talking to Mike. I'm not fretting over it. I have zero concern. My concern is we have some responsibilities over this next year. We're going to have responsibilities then over the next 7 years. Let's get her done, and then it's happily ever after from that point on. We'll rejoice of these favorable circumstances as the children of Zion. Yeah. And, a Zionist is not a political animal. A Zionist is not a religious animal. A Zionist is someone who can read the signs that are posted along the way. Yeah. And so you're going to be the descendants of what's on those signs, from Dowd's house to Yahowah's house. Then you know the way. So demonstrate a positive attitude and be elated. And it says, be elated with whom? Be elated with Yahowah. Okay, so Yahowah made a lot of these things happen. Like Dowd fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Makodim. We ought to be very impressed with Dowd for doing that, but because he did get his act together and fulfilled it. But ultimately, it was Yahowah that made it happen. This is what he wanted to achieve, and we ought to be celebrating with him. He gets the result that he wanted. He wanted some people who he could treat like family, that he could go off and show off the universe. I mean, if you create a universe that's like this, that nobody else gets to do anything other than say, well, that's a star out there. I don't know if that star still exists. It may have burned up 100 billion years ago, for all we know, but there's a star out there. That might even be a galaxy over there. But actually go there with the fellow that created it, and then have an opportunity to experiment with life on it and camp out there. I mean, so cool. And so he said, celebrate. This is what Yahowah wanted. We get to go off and do that kind of stuff with him. Demonstrate a positive attitude and be elated. Oh my. this is the thing that I think has come across on the guest hosts that we've had on this program thus far. Everybody has a positive attitude. It's okay. Times are going to be tough. You would choose Yahowah over religion and politics, and you're going to be isolated to some degree. But everybody has a positive attitude. And then you look at someone like Matt with cats, and you don't get any lower than learning about Yahowah from your heroin dealer.
Heroin dealer. Oh my gosh.
I mean, and look where the young man's come, and how mature he is, and when you're dealing with Matt, the thing that makes him so special, the reason Matt has a fan club here, is that he is out of himself. Matt's not in himself. He's out of himself. He is the first person to see something posted by somebody or conveyed by somebody that needs a pat on the back. And he's the first one to do it. He's always focused on what he can do to make somebody else's life better. And it's made his life spectacular in the process. So demonstrate a positive attitude. It's the single most important thing you can do. God does not want a bunch of negative people around. You're going to be a racist. You're going to be an anti-Semite. You're going to be a conspiratorial nincompoop. You're going to negate God down to the size of a man that men can kill. You're going to speak over God like the rabbis have done. You go away. He wants a positive attitude with Yahowah. And Ba means with, alongside. That's pretty cool. Your God, for he has provided for you. And this, in my opinion, is one of those transformational moments when you're trying to do what we do. My whole motivation has always been to render Yahowah's testimony as accurately and as completely as possible. And then to do so in a manner that all of the reasoning is face up on the table. You say, this is what the word means. This is how I went about discerning the word's original meaning. And I want to show you that word as a jewel. And I want to talk about that word because of what that word means. More is one of those words. Because he has provided for you a more, which is a teacher and a guide, who offers an outpouring of directions regarding the Towrah, as if an autumn rain. Isn't that beautiful? More, and through an outpouring of instructions to consider, it's from Ma, to ponder the implications of Yara. And if you've been doing this long enough, you know that Ma is an interrogatory. It asks us to question something, to try to figure out the answer regarding something. And now we want to ponder the implications of Yara. And Yara is the verbal root of Torah. So Yara tells us what Torah means. And Yara is the source from which teaching and guidance, instructions and directions flow.
Might I add an observation as well, Craig?
Please.
You mentioned Moriah, teacher, and then you mentioned the word rain, water, Mayim, source of life.
Mm-hmm.
Tie those together, and it fits right in with the message.
But also tie in the fact that Yara is pretty. I mean, God's pretty good at this metaphor thing. Yara is not just Torah's teaching, guidance, instruction, and teaching. And so, okay, you got that. But what is the difference between the verbal root and the noun? The verbal root is focused on being a source from which these things flow. And now he's using rain as the metaphor for conveying them. So he's tying the very root of Torah into this shower of teaching and instruction. It's a marvelous, I mean, the metaphor and the symbolism, he's almost as good at it as Leah. Little practice.
You can get there. You can get better.
Yeah, a little practice. Yeah, a little practice. You'll get better. Of course, we're having fun again. God's he's cool with it. So that, yeah, I say that. So that he's saying, yeah, okay, there, kid. You keep it up. See how that works out for you, kid.
Cool with
that. I am here to tell you that if you can get to the core meaning and you can actually figure out one of Yahweh's metaphors like this and why he chose Yareh as the verbal root of Towrah, and then capitalized on it long after it by using this metaphor of Moreh and the autumn rains, bringing that teaching and direction, then by figuring out his metaphor and sharing it, you get so many attaboy points with and smiles from Yahweh at that point that he would expect you to poke fun. I mean, that's when you know you're cooking. Yeah, that's the dancing moment. Absolutely. So there are times when you can give it to him and say, okay, I figured it out. Yeah. And he might say, okay, yeah, but yeah, kid, I wrote it 3,000 years ago, and it took you, you were 20 years in it before you figured it out. But it's unless he's going to say it in good fun, this is exactly why he put it there. And to know that you were the first people that ever figured it out and shared it, and not just shared it, but celebrated it and explained it, then which it proves his point. We were capable of listening all along. We were capable of paying attention and thinking about it and responding to it. We were always capable of doing it. So we are proving his point so that you can be right and vindicated. So the whole purpose of this teaching that is abundant in these autumn rain is so that you can be right and vindicated. So rather than laws to obey, we have an outpouring of teaching and instruction and guidance so that you can be right and you can be vindicated. Then it says, he has brought down for you an abundant shower. Now this time, Geshem means shower. Of guidance and instruction, an outpouring of teaching to ponder. He has doubled down on Moreh. A pouring forth of what should be contemplated regarding the source from which the Torah directions flow. All about being gleaned and growing thereafter. So this is to say that those who are gleaned on Taruw'ah, they're not finished with their journey. And if you're harvested on Shabuw'ah, you're not finished either. You're in process. You're well on the way, but you're in process. So about being gleaned and growing thereafter, it's malkush, being gathered together and finally harvested in the aftermath. Again, from an interrogatory, to ponder the implications of lakash, being gleaned in a final harvest and then growing thereafter. What do rains do? They make it possible for plants to grow and be productive. And he ends this statement with, as was intended from the beginning. So he is in the same conclusion that we're making, that this was the intent for the beginning, for you to appreciate teaching, the source of it, and to grow as a result of it. And as you grow, you present yourself in a position where you can be gleaned in the harvest, and that only becomes the starting point for you, not the end of the journey. It's something that is, I've shared this many times, but Yahweh has a tendency, the more you engage with him, to make certain that you're really confident but not comfortable. And there's a really kind of a difference between the two. You get to be so confident in what you're doing that you don't worry about anything. I mean, literally worry about nothing. And so that's a really nice position to be in. You can get very comfortable with that. But as soon as you start to get comfortable with it, God says, I'm going to up the ante. I think you're capable of more. And then he lays on another dimension for you to ponder and go off and explore. And you go, okay, God, that was really cool, but it's chill. You pushed it far. We started this on an anonymous basis, and you've really pushed it a long way. You pushed it so far that you've got my wife now as a star of the show, and she's an introvert. Man, I mean, you are really needling us and pushing us. Your perception of what we're capable of is much beyond our own, so that you just want to keep us always growing. But I think he does. I think he's just realized that is the energy. That is the thing that will make us forever want to learn, want to grow, want to explore, want to share. It's what makes us valuable, which makes us interesting. It's the old idea that God's not looking for perfect. He's looking for completers, that you're looking to be more and more complete, more and more fulfilled. So it is
for what next? Now what? Hey, we got that one, took care of that. Now what? What else you got? Let's go. Let's get out of our comfort zone and
get out of our comfort zone. Yeah, get out of our comfort zone. Keep on growing. And that's why I apologized a little bit to you, Russell, at the beginning, which was to say we're being nudged out of our comfort zone every day to grow way beyond where we were. And it takes an enormous amount of confidence to continue to grow, because we all, once we get to a place, says, oh, wow, now look what we've learned. And we're so much more aware than anybody else. Let's kind of draw on the wagons and let's just be celebrate all of this. And the guy said, no. We're just beginning. It's just the start of it. Come on. You have no idea where you're going to go. And part of that too is we have to keep our minds elastic, because if you're aware of the difference between dimensions, one of the things that is going to be required of us is that our choices and opportunities, our emancipation, if you will, from 3D to 7D is an infinite increase 4 times over in choices, opportunities, experiences. And so we better have pretty elastic minds. You just don't close it down. Don't say, okay, that was good, I'm comfortable now. I'm in this relationship. Well, this is good. No, don't ever really get comfortable. Keep on edge. It's like a sailboat. Don't head it directly into the wind. Keep it on edge, and you'll get the best performance. So rejoice over these favorable circumstances, children of Zion. Demonstrate a positive attitude and be elated with Yahowah, your God, for he has provided for you a teacher and guide who offers an outpouring of directions regarding the Towrah as the autumn rain, so that you can be right and therefore vindicated. He has brought down for you an abundant shower of guidance and instruction, an outpouring of teaching to ponder about being gleaned and growing thereafter, as was intended from the beginning.
Thank you, and thank you.
Oh my, it's marvelous what this says and what it means to us. If you're here, Kirk, and you've been here for 20 plus years, and you hear that, and you say, I can still grow.
Okay.
I'm being showered with teaching, with knowledge. It's not over.
No, it seems to be exponential now.
Yeah, it does.
Keeps going. Great.
So there are, I'd say, and words mean a lot to me. So sometimes I make a big deal out of them, but I think these are words that we should be making a big deal out of. And it's times like this that my propensity to examine the roots of words, that pays dividends. To be the first person that has realized that a huge percentage of Hebrew terms are compound words with an interrogatory, and almost all of the really important words are a compound of an interrogatory and a statement. Mishpat, shafat, judge, and to ponder the implications of exercising good judgment. So many words in Hebrew are like that. The mikre, which kara, the verb, means to call out, to invite, to summon, to read and to recite, to meet and to welcome. But my interrogatory before it is to contemplate what it means to be invited, to be summoned, to read and recite, and what you can gain from it. So you have to start with, nobody knew what this meant until you take the roots right down to their roots. And so this was a huge advantage for us. Among the first to point out that Torah is not law. Torah has a verbal root. God tells us what the verbal root is of Torah. The first time he introduces Torah, he tells us that the verbal root is Yara. And you read Yara, and it's a source from which directions and guidance flow. And then you see him associating it with the autumn rains, and you say, that's a pretty nice metaphor. Now I get it. Jerusalem is the source from which instructions and guidance flow regarding reconciliation. So in this case, the case of Malkush, it is from Lakash, which can be gleaned in a concluding harvest. God is therefore talking about the fulfillment of Taruw'ah based upon his Torah instructions. And with these insights, this prophetic pronouncement is consistent with the rest of Yow'el's second chapter. And the thing that I'm just so impressed with Yow'el is that the thing that people want to see in it is end times prophecy, and the darkening of the sun and the blood moon and the wars and all that sort of thing. That's there. It's going to tell you what's going to happen. But what he mostly does is want to teach you how that you can be on the right side of what's happening, how you can be bathed in those autumn rains, how you can be among those who rejoice, how you can be right and thus vindicated. So he is, I think, is the single most effective teacher among the prophets. There is actually more teaching than future history in Yow'el. And from that point of view, I think it is magnificent. And I love the way that the future history dovetails beautifully with what is in Isaiah 13. It's the same story told by a different prophet. So we get the history such that we can say, all right, the multitudes that are going to come into Israel are coming from Iran, and this is how they're going to avoid being annihilated on the way in, and this is when they're going to arrive, and how many of them they're going to be, and what kind of damage they're going to do, and how they're going to enter homes and send missiles into the cities. It's all there to describe how it's going to play out over the next 7 years as Alaska Flood 2.0 happens. But each of them take a little different approach to teaching. Isaiah wants you to focus on the Zeroah, the Nakar, the Bashar, and the Herald, and the man from Edom that's going to help lead the world and Israel out of this mess and back home. What Yow'el is talking about is something just beautiful. It's poetic. If you can be allowed yourself to be exposed, so that you're out there and exposed, so that you're showered by the autumn rains of this teacher, then you're going to be right with God, and you're going to be one of those whose attitude is positive, and you're going to be among those who is rejoicing at this time.
Yeah, Yow'el takes us through Chinook and Noach as well, okay, and those rains, but also autumn rains is very pointed towards Taruw'ah. Taruw'ah is in the autumn. We know what's going to take place on the Temple Mount with the upflowing of water, that comes there. So he's really kind of wrapping a lot of that together for us with the water metaphors. I mean,
yeah, the thing that was so interesting about Eliah's dress rehearsal for the roasting of the bull before the prophets of Baal and Asherah is that the test that made it interesting, that was going to be so cleansing, was Israel was told to bring just copious amounts of water. Water after water after water, not enough water, bring more water. I want more water, but bring more water. And then, when we get to the fulfillment of Taruw'ah, Yahweh's going to bring the water. There's going to be an upwelling of cleansing water. It's going to come right out of the Temple Mount, and it's going to cascade. It's going to be the beautiful fountains of water that come out of the Temple Mount, and it's going to be mixed with the ash of the Adamah Parah, pursuant to Numbers 19, cleansing Israel pursuant to Numbers 5, which are beautiful prophecies of a people being purged of their guilt, so that they can become royal again, be wed back into, with the king and becoming royal again, and how this is all being provided with a dress rehearsal of how Elia rid Israel of religion and politics and purged Israel of it with this sacrifice 2,888 years prior to this date with the bull, and the water being released, and Yahweh himself igniting the fire, and the ash being so cleansing. And this is what is being discussed. Those autumn rains are in the autumn. It's going to rain down really from the Temple Mount, and it's going to be flowing right out of the pages of the Torah. And so, beyond all this, we're in the autumn of our existence. As mankind is separated from God, the remedy is the final four Moedim, recognizing that the last three transpire in the fall. We are the voice of Shabuw'ah and the living embodiment of Taruw'ah. And so as the Zeroah, we're sowing the seeds, cultivating the harvest, which will produce this fruit. And from the Yehudim who drink this outpouring of teaching and guidance as it is prescribed in Bamidbar, Numbers 5, which is such a beautiful story of cleansing and purging at long last, all for a wedding that will take place on Kipurym, with the wedding, the honeymoon tent for Sukkah. Beautiful the way the metaphors fit together. And of course, all of this takes place on a threshing floor, which is why God says the threshing floors will be filled. They're going to be fulfilled. It's going to be proclaimed satisfactory and finished at that time, Mali. But we don't, it's why you don't have to stress over this. You're going to do the job the best we can every waking hour, make the contribution. Rejoice when you have a song that is supportive of what you're doing, but God's already written the end plot, and He's not predestining us to it. What He is announcing is that He has seen the result, and the result is that the threshing floor is filled. That doesn't mean that there are billions of people there, or millions of people there, or hundreds of thousands of people there, but it means that from His perspective, it's satisfactory. In fact, it's absolutely abundant from His point of view. But, again, He was satisfied with one person in Eden, and He was really dissatisfied when we got out of Eden and the Salma man ran amok. So it's not about being filled with a large quantity. It's being filled and completed and fulfilled with a high quality.
I was going to say,
God's not
Craig,
playing the religion game. He's not trying to find a lot of people.
Craig, on the evening of September 23rd, 2033, with the solar eclipse, and then the next morning, when the Adamah Parah fulfills his destiny. 10 days later, the Adamah Parah will be present, alive and well, as Dowd prepares the mercy seat. And that betrothal is about to take place. And you have achieved the unification of Yahudah with Yisrael. And then 5 days later, It's Sukkot. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
It's time for us to focus on the children now.
Mm-hmm.
So
a big damn tree in the garden there. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is going to be right there in the middle, interlacing branches with the tree of lives. It's going to be a grand spectacle in that garden. And we go to work. You know, one of the nice things is that Kevin, you were talking about that I might get a vacation before you guys get a vacation. There is one thing for sure. I do get a 10-day vacation after serving as the Amma Parah, which is, all Yah was doing. It's, it doesn't take anything but an idiot to sacrifice his body. Let somebody kill you is not that, and
just show up, right?
You just got to show up and let Yah go roast you. I mean, you do all you really have to do is show up. So God's doing all the heavy lifting here, but it's his style to give you a lot of credit. So it's a big deal about the Amma Parah and all that kind of stuff. But the soul of the Amma Parah of Yada does get a 10-day break. That's why it's important for everybody to be on their game, because there's a wedding to plan. There's a homecoming to plan. There's a big damn party to get everybody ready for. And those that are the mortal remnant, they're going to be like babies. And so it's a lot to be responsible for at that time. And I ain't going to be here to help you on that one, because I punched my ticket to make the grand.
Just glad Eliah's going to be in charge.
Yeah, beside Dowd, and I had never thought. I've always thought, Dowd's going to be, my king, and he will be. But I get to come back with Dowd as dad. How cool is that? That's my son. I'm proud of him. Man, that is really cool. And Leah as his mother. I had never thought that was going to be the role, but God, I think that I love that role. And that's one step removed from responsibility. And at that point, you're only responsible for one person, your kid, and make sure he does a good job and he doesn't fall off the rails again. Now that's a lot of responsibility with Dowd, because he does have a tendency to fall off the rails. But you're trying to be a good example as a husband and wife, as a mother and father. And we have such a great team that everything is going to flow beautifully. And I think as the proud papa, you get to keep on writing books and continue to do these kinds of vlogs. I think it's going to be marvelous. But the threshing floors are going to be filled. God says we do a satisfactory job. And it's all finished at that time. Pure grain. Yeah, pure grain, the most desirable, bright, radiant children of the most brilliant sun. Bar is such a marvelous word. Bar is the opening salvo of the last word picture of the 31st Mashal, when Leah begins speaking to her son as his mother. She gets his attention. It says she asks 3 questions to him, and all of those questions are saying, do you have any idea who you are, Bar? He doesn't use Ben. Ben is the normal Hebrew word for son. But Bar means radiant children, brilliant sun, most desirable, brightest of all, purest. It speaks of grain as a symbol for children of a family. It's a really marvelous word. And it's the operative word that Leah uses in that final word picture to get Dowd's attention. She's trying to say, do you have any idea who you are?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be the firstborn son of God?
Elyon.
This is who you are. That's why the 89th Mizmor. The 89th Mizmor says, okay, you got to hear from Mom. She was she picked you up right from where you were and helped to move you where you needed to be. And that was sweet. And it was really lovely. It was spectacular lyrics. Love the turn of phrase. So supportive. You're not going to get any more of that, kid. So now you need to sit down and shut up, and you're going to listen, because I'm going to tell you who you really are. And you better pay attention, because there's no one else on the planet like you. And there won't be a planet if you don't accept who you really are. and what responsibility you have going forward. But it's Bar that got us there. So then he says, the presses and the vats, they will be more than sufficient as they are adequately filled. Some are overflowing. We have another word for, oh, you got it done. Nice job. I'm pleased. The vats are full. The threshing floor is full. This time it's shuk. They will reach the intended and proper level around the height of the upper thigh, ideal for promoting healthy growth. With the new wine of fresh inheritance, sweeter, with only a brief fermentation, along with glistening and freshly, lightly pressed olive oil.
Oh.
So we got it all. The threshing floor. That's the grain, right?
And olive oils. Yeah.
That's the harvest of Shabuw'ah. That's the grain up there on that threshing floor. And he says that's full. It's exactly what I was looking for. You fulfilled it. Nice job. And then he ends with the olive oil because Taruw'ah is an olive harvest.
Gleaning.
Yeah, this is the gleaning of the olive oil. And you did a good job. The olive press, it's full. And oh, by the way, Taruw'ah is important because after that, you've got the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. That's that wine vat. That's why Yahowah talks about the man from Edom is stomping in that wine vat along with him. He's appropriately dressed in red. It's why Adamah means red, blood, and man. Mm-hmm. Adamah Parah, blood, red, and man. And so God wants to emphasize that the Adam of Parah is the bloody red man of the earth who is a productive bull. And he is the one who is coming out of that wine vat, according to Yahowah, to save many. She sings songs and she delivers very fancy drinks. I don't even know what this one is, but it looks
watermelon juice.
I'm looking over at my time, and we are at our bewitching hour. It's been 2.5 hours, which is really as far as we should push anyone in such a program. I think I could just go and keep on going. As Isaiah said, you're a talkative stick. But
we've only done 5 hours on the air today, so
only 5. Yeah, only 5 hours.
Only 5.
When you think about it, for a fellow that's, I don't know if you want to say if I'm 71 or 6,000 years old, it's not so bad.
Settle for 5,400. I got to get my buddy Kirk to make you that shirt that I've been talking about for 20 years. To make a long story long.
Yeah, to make a really long story much longer.
Really long.
If God's going to tell his story over 6,000 years, and he's going to have all of these lives and all of these insertions and all of these marvelous metaphors and clues, then it's for damn sure he didn't want us to be trite about it.
Oh, for sure.
No, we're not supposed to dumb it down to the 4 spiritual laws or. No, it's a long story, well told, and it's a beautiful story with lots of twists and turns and interesting characters along the way. And the very fact that the characters are so interesting, they're real. He picks a man who stutters to introduce his name to the world. Now, who in the world would do that? He picked up a man that was raised in Pharaoh's household to defeat the Egyptians. And he did it with words and ideas, not with an army.
That's a lesson.
Yeah, and he picks an outcast in Noah to build an ark to save Nasamah man. Every twist and turn. You look at the shepherd boy that is named as the firstborn, and you look at him just do everything wrong. And then he writes the most sublime songs in the history of the world and stands taller than anyone in human history as he fulfills Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. And you see, well, if that guy can do it, so can I. It's such a marvelous story, the way that it's told. And then there are just moments of tender love that to see that the real hero of the story is a woman. when you boil it all down, the hero of the story is woman. It's Ruth, knowing what she wants, going after your God is my God. Your people, they're my people. Where you go, I go. Oh, by the way, that guy over there that owns all that land and is out there harvesting his barley and then his wheat, that man's going to be my man. And she went after him.
That's some resolve right there.
Yeah, and he at one point, the only one point, because when he says, listen, you don't need to tell me who you are. I know exactly who you are. I've got total respect for who you are. And then he tells everybody, don't get in her way. Don't you mock her. Just a warning. I know this woman. Do not get in her way. Do not mock her. And so, yeah, he obviously knows her. But then as she snuggles up next to his feet, he says, now, who are you really? I thought I got it up to here, but who are you really? And then she comes on, I am your Amma. I am your productive mother, and I'm going to deliver the kinsman redeemer to you. You don't get any more powerful and any more bold than that. If as a woman, you're looking for an exemplar as a story to inspire. Yeah, she's the one. And Ruth that's the story. And she clearly loves her Boaz, and it's obviously it's reciprocal, and they go through lives together. And it's God's way of saying, not only can I demonstrate that you humans are capable of what I thought all along, but I'm going to model my covenant with these two in a love story. And I'm going to solve the major glitches in human history, the points where it's all about to crash. And I'm going to do it with a love story, with a couple. Just two people. I don't need an army. Two people. Love's powerful.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to call it an evening. I'd love to have Kevin be able to play our song as an outro again. Kirk will talk during the week and see if we can get a program going with Noah that is so much fun that Sylvia just can't stay away from. I think that would be.
Can I tell you one quick story about a woman like Sylvia?
Yes.
She's always able to find a parking place, and this is a hard place to find a parking place. And if she's driving, she finds a parking place. I think she talks to Yahowah,
Yes.
And I said, if you're going to conjure something up, how about conjuring up $1 million? She said, I did. I said, where? She said, I got yours.
Yeah, where?
I got yours.
I got yours. Okay.
Yeah. I tell you, it's tough living with this woman.
It is tough. I realized that I couldn't debate with her, so so I figured she can do a show. If she can out debate me, she can do a show. Yeah, she is just as Ruth has the greatest line in the Torah and prophets. Your wife has the greatest line in terms of our little covenant family. Pursuant to her husband and the paintings.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's embarrassing.
I think we can all concur that there is nothing like a Hazak woman.
Yeah.
There is nothing like a Hazak woman. Yeah, it's bold. A bold woman that speaks her mind. You get brains and beauty together, and that is a irresistible combination. That's the whole idea that is being conveyed in that last word picture. She is saying, you've been an idiot. You all you think a woman is just pretty, and okay, so there's pretty, but when you actually engage with a woman that you can confide in, and that you can trust, and that when you stumble and fall, she's there right beside you so that you don't stay down. And she goes over and she talks about the power of you being with a woman like that. He says, if you have a woman like that, you are never going to lack for anything. Your every desire, every need, every opportunity, you will succeed in life if you have that. And oh, by the way, she'll be affectionate and beautiful too. because if she's that bright, she'll know that the combination of those things is far more powerful than brilliance alone. And so that word picture is very erotic. I mean, there are really all sorts of sexual innuendos to it, because what she's talking about is real. You know, you can make love and a marriage and a relationship work when you can bring all of those things together. And it's far better than just having one or having all of them. And so it's one of the most powerful lessons on life. And I think that it's taught by Ruwth, the songwriter of that last song. But it was Ruwth that was the one who talked about the power of that. And yet she is as powerful as what she is. There are several lines in there that indicate that from her point of view, she was submitting to her husband. She says, if I yield to my husband, I am the power. That is when I can empower us. That is when I can make us really extraordinary. And that's why there's 3 times where she references her husband as Baal. And it's important for her to make that point, and she wants to make that point. And so here's the strongest, boldest of women, and she says, this is the power in all of this. This is why this will work this way. And then talks about the affection and the beauty of it all. It's one of the most mature, elegant, profoundly insightful, holistic love stories ever. So,
it's that fusion, Craig. It's that fusion of the souls that make it as potent, as powerful, as meaningful as possible, and especially on the heels of Dowd's rant in Mizmor 51. To do what he did after that, Boaz and Ruth, have accomplished something extraordinary, superlative. There aren't adjectives to describe it.
Yeah, one of the things that I got to know about Leah that was just so different than any experience that I ever had before is that you can actually, if a woman is intuitive enough, she can love a body to the point she reaches the soul. You can actually feel your soul be part of the experience. And so she has figured out and how that you can love a body to the point, and you understand it, that you are actually stimulating the soul. It's a level of love that's so far beyond anything that I had previously experienced.
Yes.
So I know it's mature and it's adult talk, but it's a good thing. And it's nice to see 2 lovers. We're all adults, and it's an evening show now, and it's a perfect show for to have you 2 here as our guests and as co-hosts, and I'm so happy for you, Mariah, to be in this position. To think, Russell, where you've where you've come, and I think it's for you. It is not just in your mind. I think it's heartfelt that this has been a tremendous stride for you into something that is more real than anything else. I remember so many times talking about why things don't change in the world because people know what they don't like. You didn't like religion. Mm-hmm. I don't like religion. But not liking something isn't enough. Sometimes you have to have more than aversion to something. You had an aversion to religion. I have an aversion to religion. But you've got to have something that you have an attraction to as well. And the antidote for religion, the anti-religion, is Yahowah, his Towrah, the covenant, the Moed Mikre. This is the antidote for religion. And when you find what the opposite is of what you hate, and you can be drawn to it and drawn away from the thing you hate, and understand the thing you hate and why it should be hated, then that is where you find the positivity and where you find total fulfillment and where life becomes more real and more productive than it ever could have been otherwise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's where you are. And
very true.
All right. If Kevin can play our song, Leah's song, one more time, I'll tear up. But this time, it won't bother anybody that we're doing that. A marvelously emotional show. I like doing these this when we have this opportunity just to talk as family. This was a really good time. Like I just think that if you are covenanting, you're seeing how we respond to one another and how we've been together all of these years, and or you're outside and you're trying to say, is this real? I don't think there's anything we can do or say that is better than this kind of program. And if we do it once a week, just to lay our hearts on the line and say, this is who we are. Yeah. And this is what it means to us.
I just want to say Lala Tov to the Amma, and that her song, her testimonial song, actually is piercing and permeates the bone marrow, and it touches all of our souls.
Yeah. And one last thought here is that, Dr. Jeff, what we're trying to do is get people in places where they can really shine in terms of their acumen and what they contribute. You would be a marvelous host of a variety, almost everything on our menu, because you know the material so well. Your vocabulary and the way that you present ideas is not only so cerebral, but it's also approachable, and you don't want to only showcase the vulnerability and the emotion. I think Matt does a marvelous job, for example, of that. It's raw and it's emotional and it's approachable, and everyone is drawn to that. But Jeff, you are very cerebral and so well educated and so articulate that there's also an important draw to that, and there's substance to it. And so we need to find a way too that you have, in addition to this one. I don't want to give you up on this one because you're too important. It's like I told Kevin, he said he said rotate in and out of the show. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're too important to what we're doing, and you're too important to rotate off of this show. But sometime on the weekend, and you find somebody that's got a flexible schedule. Yeah. It may even be that you end up partnering with Leah, who you have a good relationship with. But you need to find a partner and pick a subject, whether it's the book club or it's a cerebral approach or just your overall thoughts on various subjects. It could be just topic driven, where you say, okay, this time we're going to talk about Mariah because it's just so magical a term, and you're really good at that. So I
appreciate the kind words, Craig. It's interesting. My passion, ultra passion, is many, but the focus on attacking and being anti-rabbinical and destroying Judaism, and exposing it is really where
you're right. That's where you want to go. That's where I want you to go. I should have thought of that. But that's why we do this openly and have discussions on it. That needs to be done. It's essential. You're the right person to do it, and it needs to be done. And that is an appeal that we need on behalf of God's people. And that may be one where you and I have to co-host it. So it may be the two of us that just co-host a show where we talk about the idiocy of Judaism and their corruption of everything from the book of Esther, the book of Ezekiel, all the rites surrounding Passover, what they get wrong on Matzah or Rosh Hashanah or Kipurym or Sukkah. what they get wrong in terms of Yahweh's name, the covenant, that somehow being Jewish is equated to Judaism when both are wrong.
Exactly. And exposing the perfidy and the destruction and death toll that they've caused from Akiba, from Paul onward. That's important to have a historical perspective with the practical perspective that you just mentioned as well.
Yeah. And Leah might be able to partner with you too. Maybe it's the three of us that do it. But let's talk about how we put together a program like that. I think that would be very valuable for our intended audience. All right. Well, thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind playing Dust of Fire one more time. I love the lyrics. I hope this one is posted prominently on the site and we all have a chance to celebrate lives well lived.
Was dust in the dawn, a hush in the reeds, a sparrow beneath the shadow of the Nile of time that had not yet spoken my name. Then I sought Yahowah, like rain on a buried sea, like fire folded into cedar, like the first silver thread of morning breaking the rim of the dark. I heard your name as a new hears a whistle in the field through wood and stone. I heard your name as a mother hears the steps of the one who comes home. I am the Amma. I have no palace, I have no crown, only my open palms. I have no song of my own except the one you placed in my breath. Yahowah, you are the well hidden in a wilderness, the lantern in the hollow of the darkest night, the path of dawn laid across the face of the sea. The wild wind that wakes the olive tree, the pulse beneath the vineyard soil, the compassion that bends low to lift the ones the world has broken. I turned from the noise of men, from altars of ash and echoes of hay. Quiet, your name was a thunderclap alone. It was also the shelter after the storm. Yahweh, Yahweh. Yahweh, Yahweh. I am yours to remember. Write your name upon my brow, on the inside of my waiting heart, like a blue flower in the spring. Let me be the small song that rises from the clay when your breath moves through it and gives it life. Yahweh, Yahweh, you are the morning in the throat of the dark. You are the fire beyond the veil of the hills. You are the lamp at the feet of those who are beloved. I respond with open hands. Here I am, and here is my song. Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, come back to me. 6 days we work, then we bask. We leave the noise to hear Yah's voice. We listen, we learn,